Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Preview.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. I am Mr. Snidbits, and to my left, as always, is Black Girl Marvel. And we have all the movie things back with us today. No Mr. Marvelite today, but he will be back soon. And let's move over to the drive-thru so we can see a little better here. We're going to be doing an all animation evening. So these are some pretty popular animated movies. I think one of the more popular 90s animated movies. We'll be doing Iron Giant, Rango, and The Good Dinosaur. So a nice variety of studios as well. How are you guys this week?
Okay.
Yeah, doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got to watch all these movies, so I had time to watch all these movies. I have run into that issue quite a bit, but
That's okay.
I get
That's
that.
okay.
This one's
I
good.
ran into that issue with one of these films, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
But I still have plenty of input, I think. So why don't we just kick it right off? We only have the three of us tonight, so we can kind of just talk as much as we want about all of these because we'll have plenty of time. And let's kick right off with The Iron Giant. So this is a classic, now considered one of the classic animations, especially, like I said, of the 1990s. And this movie stars some pretty big actors, actually. I was pretty shocked when I looked a little deeper. I knew that Vin Diesel was the giant, but I didn't know Jennifer Aniston was in the movie, and I didn't.
I think that's the
No,
only
neither did I.
thing. That's the only thing I knew about this movie. And then the moment she opened her mouth, I was like, "Is that Jennifer Aniston?"
Yeah, I
Like
was
the
like,
moment she
yeah,
opened her mouth, yeah.
And then Harry Connick Jr., of course, which is great because he was just big in the 90s for acting.
yeah.
Where
Of
did
course,
I
he
it
go?
love
feels
Harry
like
Connick Jr. I heard his
Yeah.
voice and I was just like, he went back to music.
Oh, okay.
I heard his
Yeah.
voice and I was just like, I know this voice.
Right.
Who is this? I love Harry Connick Jr. I think he's like such a Southern boy that in everything that he
Oh, yeah,
does.
yeah.
It just gives me like a warmth. It just takes me home, I guess.
I thought it was kind of fitting that he played the beatnik kind of character.
Yeah.
Like I can see
Yeah.
him
The
doing
artist, if
that.
you will.
Mhm.
So why don't we start? All the movie things. This was your first time seeing this, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like one of those. I feel like it's one of those movies that people are like, "Oh, you have to see Iron Giant," kind of thing. But um, I think one of the reasons I was like in the Navy when it came out, I was like 1999, so it may have just like missed my radar when it first came out. But it was great to see it, finally. Yeah, I really loved the animation style, and then the fact that it was set in the 50s too, which I thought that was like a unique, unique take on it. And there's just some fun little things in there that I was noticing. Like it was like, I don't know if anyone else noticed, like with the bicycle that Hogarth rides, it almost kind of reminded me of a bit of uh Pee Wee Herman's bicycle. He had not as like
Mm,
elaborate,
With
but
the
like
big handles and the bigger wheels.
yeah, and like
right.
the design of it and everything.
hmm
Um, yeah, I just love the design of the Iron Giant itself. And like it felt like there was like it was a mix of computer animation with
It
traditional
was.
I think it was
They
drawing.
did
3D
both.
modeling that they put 2D animation on,
Right.
is what it seemed like.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because
No, it was both. I read it. It's
yeah,
like hand drawn and it's computer animation.
yeah, that's what it
They
felt like.
mixed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because some of like the way like certain things transitioned and went in 3-dimensional space just felt
hmm
too smooth. Like it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they had to like do something there. But no, it's like it was really great to finally see it.
I would agree with you. Black Girl Marvel, was this your first time seeing this, or?
This is my first time watching this. Yeah, it's my first
Wow.
time.
So this is the
Yeah.
podcast of shame,
All-
apparently.
All three of us.
Because this is my first time seeing it as well. I was
Yeah, this is my first time watching it. I never. This movie came out in 1999.
Yeah.
And Tarzan also came out in 1999.
Oh,
And I am a Disney,
yeah.
just a Disney girl. I'm a Disney child, and so I was very into Tarzan. And this movie, I remember seeing like trailers for it, and I was just like, that ain't my type of movie, and I just bypassed it because it wasn't Disney, it was
It
Warner
wasn't
Brothers.
Disney.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Like what?
what does WB know about making animations? And now I think about it, I'm
Right.
like, they ain't pretty good
Yeah.
at making animations. But yeah, this is my first time watching it, and I went in it kind of like, all right, let's see. Because I watch reactions on YouTube. I do reactions on YouTube, and a lot of people have been reacting to the Iron Giant, and I was just like, where's all this newfound love for this film
Oh
that
yeah,
came
you've
out?
seen a
You know
lot
what I
of
mean? I was
like
just like, why?
resurgence.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a huge resurgence, and I'm just like, where's everybody? Like, so I'm like, okay, it's my turn now. I guess it's like it's my turn
Yeah.
to watch the film. And I was taken by surprise. It moves slow in the beginning a little bit. I think there's a lot of stories they were telling that I'm always like, you can cut 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Quick little 10 minutes will just
Right.
sharpen that up. But it was still like a beautiful story. It was still, because like I was looking at it because I'm older now, and I'm not looking at it as like a 13-year-old. I think I was 13 when it came out.
Yeah.
Not looking at it through
Yeah.
like a 13-year-old's lens. So like I'm looking at it and being like, man, she's a single mother. She's working hard. Like
All right. In the 50s too. Like
in the
whoa.
50s, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I was
Like
As a waitress, so like not
as a waitress, not the most highest paying job, which is why she's working overtime, and she has a room for rent, and like, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, it was so much trust back then. I'm like, well, like you let this man into your home, and then she's like, why don't you show him around town? That's a grown man. He doesn't need me to do anything for him. And so like, I really had to remind myself that this was like
I had those
50s or
moments
like a
too.
different time. I was like, ma'am, don't put this grown man on me. Like, what do you mean? But all
and
in
she
all,
was
I think it was
casual
like,
about the beatnik hanging out with her kid too.
yes, like she was just
Yeah.
like she got back with the army and went and left her son with this dude that she doesn't. I was like, what's happening here? But again, 2022, and it's like everybody around the corner is a predator or something. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But I thought it was like a very sweet story. I really didn't expect to get emotional
to care
at all. To care. I really did not expect that. Shout out to Vin Diesel. He can make you feel a lot of things without saying much.
Yeah, literally.
Is it terrible that I prefer him that way? Is that terrible?
No, honestly, no. Because like I feel like when you have, I don't know, his kind of, because if you really listen to him speak, Vin Diesel doesn't. His voice is deep, but it's like soft at the same time. It's like a very deep timbre, but it's soft. So it's like when you put that with like great animation or great CGI or whatever you want to it's something about it, because he could say I am Groot and I'm weeping, like
I know
we are Groot, like I'm crying, and this dude literally was just like, stay here, I go, you stay, like he literally repeated what he said, and I'm just I'm sitting here like, is he gonna die? Like I'm just like weeping.
Yeah, it was like Blair Witch snotty, like
seriously, I'm like weeping. So like I was really surprised that I mean, I'm not surprised that I like animation because like it's me, but I was just surprised that this movie elicit that type of emotion from me. So I honestly really enjoyed this film. I really did. It's way more stuff in it too that I was just like,
oh yeah,
it's an animation, and I'm like, kill Kent. Kill him because he's terrible.
Right?
It was just a lot, but it was a great film though. Nitty?
So this was my first, as we've already kind of discussed.
Yay!
And what's really bizarre is everybody always told me, watch this movie. But I swear they always just said, watch the Iron Giant. And that would be it. They'd never explain it to me. They never like broke it down and told me what it was. Had somebody said it was about the 50s that Sputnik opened the film. Like, this is like right up my alley. NASA, like,
the whole like Red Scare,
all of that, everything.
Era,
I was like I didn't know any of that. I thought it was a robot somebody made. I thought it was from Earth. I thought,
I didn't know it was like an alien robot
almost like maybe a steampunky thing. That's just where my head was, and nobody just took that extra step and went, "No, dude, you're a space nut. You'll love this. This is like War of the Worlds meets Transformers in a sense, kind of."
It's funny you mentioned War of the Worlds. I felt War of the Worlds like, especially when like all of his like weapons open up and he had those like one things come out, like the tentacle things.
That's
like that's solid. So War of the Worlds.
And to think about it too, he came from like the sky and like shot down, kind of like World of World is.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, that's a solid. You know what, City? That's a solid comparison, man. That's solid.
The other one I was
I'm
going to
proud of
say
that.
though, because this movie, as I was watching it, whenever we go back, this has happened on the podcast before when other people have watched movies for the first time after seeing it. I think it's happened with Log, where she was like, "I've seen all these tropes before. This movie is Bumblebee. Like it's just Bumblebee." And I was just
Honestly,
like, "Oh
it
yeah,
is.
like
Yeah, it
this,
is.
you know, people like remake
Yeah,
Iron
yeah.
Giant." I was like, "They did. It's right over there. You can watch it."
He's yellow.
He's exactly. It's the same
Yellow.
story in a lot of ways, because both of them couldn't talk, and like they even like almost
Had to
almost all the
learn.
tropes were the same.
You had to learn, yeah,
Right.
something. But that was super cute though. But my whole thing was like, he should have known something was up. When it's like he couldn't speak it, but he can understand it. And I was just like, he ain't
Right.
from Earth, is he? I was like, where he from? He's from oh.
Now
But
the
I thought that-
Bambi
I thought
moment
that was cool.
was a quick like they showed how you could shorten the Bambi movie up to like 2 scenes.
Right.
That's all we
Literally.
needed, you know.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of little tropes like that. I loved the obsession with Superman in the film, and I know
Yeah,
all the movie
that was pretty
things
great.
probably will too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's 57, so like that was like the height of Superman's
Superman's
popularity.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that the robot always wanted to be the good guy, like, and at that point, Superman was the Boy Scout still. We didn't have the edgies
Yeah.
from the 90s
Yeah,
or
exactly.
now that we have.
Yep.
And so it was so sweet to see that. And I love that he was like put his arm, as soon as he was like put his arm out, I was like, oh, this movie got me. I'm stuck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I liked it because it was like a deep dive into like the nature of anything, honestly. Like how you're not just one thing. Because like he had a part of himself that like was a defense mechanism that like if a gun or anything, even playfully, was pointed at him, his body automatically reacted to the like this defense. And then it was just like, how many people do we know have some type of PTSD that gets triggered or something that gets triggered at them to do something, and they have to learn how to be like, no. He had to like shut himself down sometimes to be like, no. And to me, it lends itself to being very human in that sense. To like, no, I can control this. I'm not a gun. I'm not a weapon. And then it's like, and then if you think about it, that's the trope of kind of like, or like not even the trope, just like the characterization of like Superman in a way. Because that's how everybody sees Superman, especially like military, like in the movies and the comics. They're like, he's a weapon. He can be a weapon.
Exactly.
And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm not a gun. Like I'm trying to save people. So it had those same like parallels, and it was just very. To see a 1999 film have this much depth, I was just like, that's nice. Like, that's pretty cool.
I know why this missed my radar. If it's 99, that's the year of The Matrix and Fight Club.
Yep.
I was not looking to watch animated
Episode
movies.
1.
Like episode 1 was like I watched that so many times in the theater. Nothing else could have touched that movie at the time. So I think it just, that's why it missed the first couple of years, and then after that, I was like, whatever. It's an animated movie, and please don't take offense to that. That's just the way that people in their 20s usually react.
Not me, though. I was in my 20s like, oh, this came out. I'm going to kid.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I went to see Nightmare Before Christmas in the theater as a teenager in high school. So like animation was still in my wheelhouse, but I think I was getting more into like, bro films, if you will.
But I mean, 1999, if you go back to films that came out a lot of like really good films came out in like 1999. So like I definitely understand like not having it on your radar. It's like, yeah, it's another animation. It's cool. I've been doing that for quite some time. Like I want to go to this like live actiony thing or see actual people and stuff like that. So I definitely, except for me, I was like Tarzan, but I kind of get that though. Yeah.
Well, I bet you there's an animated movie I was excited about that year. I just haven't looked into it yet. So the cast in this movie is absolutely outstanding because there's even like Emmett Walsh, John Mahoney, Christopher McDonald as
of course,
Kent.
always playing a bad guy.
He played Kent,
Which he did not. He was not Shooter McGavin. He was very different.
Oh yeah.
I wanted Kent to die a horrible death.
Agreed.
And the best he got was what my man got in WandaVision, was that he got ran into something and they were like, surround him. Like that's the best they could give him. And I was just like, because he almost killed a kid. Like he almost killed
the whole town,
including
not even that. But like he almost killed a kid. He was like the kid is still there, and he was like, shoot him. The kid's dead.
Right. Well, even sent him after him. He was like, go after him. The kid's dead. Oh.
The kid's dead. It's like you declare the kid dead. Then you almost blew up the town, and then it just because like my thing was like, what would like as an actor, my actor standpoint, I was like, what is his motivation for feeling this
Fear.
way. I was just like,
Mhm.
why are you? It's like you're so afraid of this robot that saved people. It's just like, to me, he was like the Lex Luthor of this. If we had to give it a Lex, if we comparing this to like Superman, if the Giant is Superman, and obviously, what's his name, Hogarth, that's a hell of a
What a
name.
name.
That
He
name, yeah.
like, listen, I thought about it too. Hogarth is like Pete Ross, like the best friend or whatever, or Jimmy Olsen, however you want to slice it.
Mhm.
Like, Kent was easily Lex Luthor, just afraid to be afraid, or mad just to be mad. Like, you have no correct motivations for it. Like, very, like, it's just crazy. And then it was just
But
like, I
Luther's
just want to
that
be
way.
proven. I just want to be proven right. Like,
Right.
that's the mind frame. I wanted Kent to die so bad, but I was like, this is an animation. They don't kill people in these things.
They'll kill
Not
deer,
offhand.
though. No problem killing
Right.
deer.
You no,
Or
literally,
parents.
Or parents.
or parents.
Oh,
Yeah.
parents get
But
killed so
parents
easily.
always die like off screen though. They always like, I'm born and I don't have a parent. Like, that's usually how
Right.
animations do it. So
I
Fair.
mean, my whole thing about his like ideology or his motivation was because of the era, because of like communism was such a thing that everyone was scared of, especially in
yeah,
America. And I
yeah.
think that was part of his thing, was like
The
he was
commies
yeah, he
system
thought
like
this
such
was
a
like a
thing. Yeah.
creation from like a communist country, possibly,
Mhm.
you know, like, and of course he probably wanted to make a name for himself as well. Like,
Let's not forget
you
about
know,
the
in the
fact that this
government.
is a heavy book of, or heavy sci-fi era for books.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing about aliens from the space.
Yeah.
So he's
Oh, yeah,
probably got an air of paranoia that might be possible.
Right.
And
Could
lo and
easily be a
behold, he's
conspiracy
right.
theorist. I mean, he works for the government. He can easily be a conspiracy theorist, or have these, or
Well,
see things, or have these
he
ideas.
says it really clearly. He says, if I even think that this could go against this country, I'm allowed to act.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
Yeah.
was like, wow.
At that time, that's what they wanted, you know, like
Yeah.
the McCarthy era.
But I mean,
he
yeah,
was like,
There's another
I mean,
example.
yeah.
but if you think about
McCarthy
it,
was doing that.
Kent translates to like cops in this generation,
Mhm. Yeah.
because working off of fear, or working off of what could be, or working off, I'm trying to stop it before it happens, and like, ain't none of y'all pre-cops, like, stop,
Right.
like, just
Yeah.
you type of thing. And I think that's what it was. It's like he could see, or he thought he could see like what this could become. So he's like, let me stop it before it even happens. And by doing that, you almost massacred a town out of
Mhm.
your fear, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's Lex Luthor, like you said. The whole reason
No,
Lex
no,
Luthor
literally.
is
Yeah.
afraid of Superman is well, of course he has his, I want to rule the world, but you can't do that with this alien, and he starts to get this like xenophobia against Superman
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of his tropes or through his character
Yeah.
story. I did think it was really interesting the way that they didn't portray the main government as bad. They were just open to hearing what their agents had to say, and the general ended
Right.
up being like a really
Yeah.
good guy that went, wait, let me use my reason for a minute.
He was like caught in the middle.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
You
he
don't see
listened
that.
though. Like, that's what I
No,
liked
totally.
about it. Like, usually in films with like when the government's present, because I think it's because I really feel like back then people didn't hate the government as much as they hated the government now. Like it's like grown like throughout the generations, like hate for the government. So I feel like they kind of wrote it lighter, because usually when we see the government in any type of like TV show or film or anything like that, they're all dicks. Like, every piece of the government, unless they're like lowly, I don't get paid the $50K a year government agents, you know what I mean? Like, they might be nicer, but if you're like higher up on that chain, like, everybody's presented as dicks and nobody listens. Like, nobody listens. And like the general listened, but then it was like, you sound crazy. A big old metal robot, that sounds nuts. Go away. But then he proved it and was like, okay, but then he still listened when the people were like, yo, it's a kid, or hey, this thing saved us, he's good. Like, he was able to throw away like the government side of himself, I guess, and be a human being and listen to these people
Mhm.
to make an informed decision. Whereas Kent was just
I do
Lex
like that the bad
Luthering up
guy's
the
name is
place.
Kent, while the Superman trope was on the other
Yeah.
side. of
Yes,
it.
I was
That
thinking about
really
that
nice.
too.
Yeah.
I literally said that in my reaction. I was just like, I'll never name anything Kent. I was like, sorry, Clark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I love his last name is like Mansley.
Mansley.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Kent Mansley.
And of course, you got
I
some
mean, it
really.
informs his character though.
Oh,
did.
totally. Yeah.
But you do have some kind of what we would nowadays almost consider tired tropes, with the mom having to fall for the beaten, and being together at the him being validated by her liking his really bad art, which is fine because his art saved the robot, so that's important. At that, but it's interesting what I was trying to find flaws and I really couldn't. By the end of the film, I thought this is pretty perfect for an animation. I don't mean like that, like that, but for any film, it's a perfect film because they really it's got 3 acts. It really plays out very nicely. But there was one moment that stood out to me where I was like, and it's when the giant does shoot at Hogarth a couple of times, and we start to realize what he's doing, and of course Hogarth does. But then I saying Beatnik instead of saying the character's name. Dean, thank you. So Dean puts together really suspiciously how quickly he just picks up the gun and goes, "Oh, it's a defense." I was like, "Come on! Oh, that's just. Can I get like 2 more lines of dialogue?" Or like he saw the gun the second time around, but it didn't show him seeing the gun, so it bothered me just a little bit. I'm really nitpicking. Like that's how hard I had to nitpick to find something that I enjoyed.
That part didn't bother me. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like you're very valid in what you're saying. But I was just like, okay, because he was very like, I have to protect him because I feel like it was a thing of like he was just like go away, like he was like trying to protect him, not really realizing that he was getting triggered. He's like go away, like stop, and he's like he's not playing, like what are you doing, like he's fine. And then like he runs after him and he picks up the gun and he's like, I think he just realizes that like each time he put the gun up, like so it didn't really bother me. We had to get somewhere. We had to get
I know, and it's
climax.
an animated movie because they want to keep it short up, and tight.
And you're very valid. But to me, I was just like, he's been kind of like a smart dude anyway, like the whole movie. So it's like this is like a genius to kind of figure that out for me. But he's been like the one that's kind of like had answers a little bit throughout the film. So it's just kind of like it just fell into his character. Like he's the unassuming person. You don't expect the beatnik to be.
Wait
like
a second. I think I might have answered my own problem. Did he see the TV signals from the giant before that happened? Was it the night before that happened? Because the signals kept coming when the robot was dreaming. The signals came out of him and went to the television that watching.
I think that was before
he was watching the news and then it cut to
no.
Like,
I
his
think
memory,
that no.
right?
I think that was before.
Then that would give him a piece of clue of what might be happening because he saw him turn into a vicious robot in that.
Yeah. Even the first time he did it, when Hogarth was on his shoulder and he like his eyes went red for a little bit and he like kind of like snapped out of it. I was watching it like, oh, he got a dark side. I was like, what's gonna happen? I was like, ew. But yeah.
Okay, so the moment that I think I started sobbing was when Hogarth runs up in front of the robot and stands there and says, "You got to choose who you're going to be," and like says, and winces and says, "Choose."
Choose.
I was like, "Oh, that just killed me. Oh, that destroyed me," because I was like, he really just believed.
Yeah,
he completely believed.
He was,
yeah.
I
mean, and think about it. The whole thing was about him having a pet. That's how the movie started.
I know, right in the very beginning. Yeah, exactly.
And like, and Justine said it though. It was like it gave like I think that was Justine. I think it was Justine that said it. Like it gives like ET vibe.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because that was Elliot. That was Elliot in the beginning. Like the Gertie was the baby, so everybody loved her, and then the other boy was the oldest, and he was just in the middle. He was like, "All I want is a friend, man." And then come from the skies, here comes ET, and it's just like so. To me, it did have like ET vibes, where it's just like I want a pet, and you literally got something that you had to like train in a way and teach and and he became a better kid in having to teach what his mom has taught him, and it was like a nice full circle type of thing. That was just a great movie. Look again, if I cry, it's over.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like
I cried.
Yeah, it leans me more towards liking it. 9 times out of 10.
I cried, man.
I was
crying. Like, I tend not to cry at bad movies, so it makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
No, I cry at bad movies too. Like, why did I waste my time? Like, that's my.
Can I have my money back, please?
Can I have my money back, please?
Right.
Please.
So 99, Aniston got this role because Friends. And Harry Connick Jr. got this role because of Friends. Wasn't he also on Friends?
Will and Grace.
Will and Grace, and of course he had already done 94.
Yeah.
Vin in 99, Vin wasn't like a household name.
No.
No. But didn't the pacifier come out in '99 or was that 2000?
No.
He's
2001.
he's been around, but I didn't think I know he was around in '99, but I don't think he was doing. It was
Yeah,
more
like the
like
first
go ahead,
Fast and Furious. He did the pacifier after Fast and Furious.
which was 2001.
Yeah, okay.
I was
Yeah.
in the military when they did that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Fast
Yeah,
and
me
Furious
too.
came out in '05. I mean, Pacifier came out in '05. Sorry, that's my mistake.
No, you're good. I'm just going back to his IMDb right now. So, he was
Yeah.
in Awakenings. He was an orderly. I did not know that. I can watch.
The
But he
fact
did
that his name is
Strays.
Mark
Oh yeah, okay.
Sinclair.
Saving Private Ryan. He was the first guy to
Yeah.
get
He had a
knocked
small
off.
role in Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
And take this to my mom. Like that was his big
Mhm.
role. And then he did this. So like before that, nobody knew who the guy was. So Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan and Iron Giant
was
put
like-
him on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Then he did Chronicles of Riddick.
hmm
And
Yeah.
the rest is history.
But I think this was cool that this was like a Warner Brothers film, and then but also it's the directorial debut of Brad Bird,
Right?
who we know goes on to do like The Incredibles and everything. So it's just like
Yeah.
when at the end of the movie I'm crying. I was like, okay, Brad Bird, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You've always been like this. Like
You just
you've
want
always pulled strings, man. Okay.
let's see. He also did Ratatouille.
hmm
And I know he did another one that I love too. Oh, not director. So yeah, we can't really talk about things like cinematography, but we can sort of. I mean, they try to emulate cinematography in animation to some degree. You want to talk about that, all
Yeah.
the movie things, and like how they kind of approach that? Because you were talking about that before the show about Rango, and why don't we start talking about with
Yeah.
Iron Giant?
So with these kind of films, it's tougher, and it's interesting too, because of Rango, I started digging a little further in, and it's something I've always paid attention to anyway with animated films because and I've talked a little bit about it on like TikTok. I like terms like something we take for granted every day is a phenomenon called parallax, and they have to try to emulate parallax in animation and standard animation, well, all animation film because it's like not really there, So, and parallax is like when just gives things depth and things move slower or faster depending on the relation to the viewer, So, like a row of trees, columns of trees move faster. The ones that are closest to you move faster than the ones
No one's
further
behind
away.
you. Yeah.
And then there's all layered. So like those things I notice in animated films more so than anything, and how they're lighting things too is always like tough because a lot of times in animated films they want things to be really well lit all the time, and something Roger Deakins actually mentioned in his podcast talking about animated stuff was that what he ran into was because the animators work so hard on all these things, and so they like they would give a lot of pushback when it came to the lighting part of things because even though because you're trying to light and emulate what's in reality, but the animators would push back because they work so hard on something, they want their thing to be shown, so it's just like there's kind of this like probably not so much in this film in Iron Giant, um yeah, I thought they did a really great job with what they had at the time, and like um and it's tough too because like I think they have to do a lot of research, with like what I mean. There's a lot of like reference photography they have to do and everything with these kind of things and try to like match that in reality into a drawing, and that can be tough at times. So
Yeah.
it was really great to see like just the level of cinematography in this at 1999, and with a we talked about it like as a mix of computer animation and what was like an overlay, like a 2D animated overlay kind of thing situation. So um yeah, it was great. It was great to see that, and I could really appreciate what they did for 1999 too. So
Yeah.
well, and like even when we go back to like other animated films, like even in Bambi, for instance, they did a really great job in Bambi. I mean, I don't know how long it must have took them to do that because I mean, one of the opening scenes is like they're going through the forest, and there's like all these different layers in the background, and like, I think with Bambi, the other thing was kind of in focus, and that's something in Iron Giant that they were able to do was like not make everything into focus, because with most live action films we have depth of field, everything. So they're trying to emulate as much depth of field as they could with this. But something I've noticed a lot of times in animated movies is a lot of things are like always in focus instead of like trying to like do a rack focus from one thing to another, or trying to emulate depth of field, like you would see with real cameras and stuff. So
A rack
but
focus? You describe
yeah,
it as?
so a rack focus is basically you see it all the time. I think I did a TikTok about it too, but but a rack focus is basically when you'll focus on one, say, subject, and then for like emphasis to control the viewer's eye and perspective, you'll focus onto something else in the background, and you rack. They call that a rack focus, going back and forth between those two.
Sounded familiar, and I
So
thought that might have been it, but thank you for
right,
clarifying
yeah,
that,
yeah,
because
for
that is
sure.
a fun and interesting shot. You see that?
Yeah, I love doing it. Like, what's a fun game I play in my head anyway? I like will watch a thing. I'll be like, and I'll say to myself, "Okay, rack focus," and then they'll do it. I'm like, it's just so satisfying. It's like, yeah, they did that rack focus.
Yeah, I do that with tropes. I can't do that with shots. But like, in Rango, I know we're
Yeah,
about to get this movie. There's a moment where,
yeah,
he drinks liquor and then gets a cigar thrown in his mouth, and immediately
yeah.
I'm like, he's gonna blow fire. Like, you can't, like, he's not
Oh
going
yeah,
to.
totally. Yeah,
And it's little things like that. So that's fun. But I just
Oh, I
I
was
can't
calling
do it
out
with it.
stuff in
Yeah,
that movie. I was
right,
yeah.
calling out stuff in that movie like crazy. I was
right.
like, and then this is gonna happen, and then it happened. I was like, yes,
Well,
I love it.
vindication. I was like,
yeah, and the thing too with that, because like it's playing on all the Western genre stuff,
Right.
too, and like twisting it a little bit too, because and they're having some fun with it. But yeah, like I thought it was they did a great job with that one. But
So the theme
um,
tonight would definitely be just old timey tropes, because we had the 50s
yeah,
tropes, and then the other
uh-huh,
two movies play heavily both on a Western theme.
yeah.
Because even the Good
honestly,
Oh yeah,
Giant
yeah,
does
totally,
too.
well,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but also it's a very much like who are you type of
Mhm.
night, because all of these films is like like who
Yeah,
are you,
in
define
a
who
lot of
you
ways,
are in a
yeah.
way. Like all these
Uh-huh.
films are like, are you going to be what people think you are, or are you going to be who you know you are to
Yeah,
be? And so like
yeah.
all
A
these
lot about
films had
identity and
our leads, yeah, discover like
mhm.
who I am.
Testing
Like they went
themselves.
through these things, right? They
Right.
went through these things that eventually was like who I think I am or who I want to be. I have been that person. I just have to step out and be
Yeah.
the person. So that's interesting. Wow. And we all like each of us just picked a movie.
Right, I know. Yeah.
So
But that's
It's
that's
usually
happened
how
on
it
funny.
this
works.
show a lot of times, and I think
No,
that's a
a lot.
testament,
Right.
Yeah, it
one, to
is.
our taste to some degree, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
also or maybe even our eye for film to some degree. That's not to sound
Yeah.
too, highfalutin or anything like that, but
Make it highfalutin. We're
but,
geniuses.
but
That's
I
fine.
also think it's a testament to film and how films
No, totally. Yeah.
have a
Mhm.
limited number of themes and stories that they can
Mhm.
tell, and that's why when
Yeah.
people get mad about them, I'm like, you pay attention to stories, because
No, you don't, because
Yeah.
they
They've
break down
always
pretty
had
easily.
yeah,
yeah.
they've always had that and they always will. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, it's because it's based on us as humans, and we
Yeah,
only do
exactly.
so many things. We're fairly limited in what we do.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like what was that there's a new Hollywood Reporter out. I love Hollywood Reporter. And I forget who's a part of the cast, but it's a men's one this time, and Michael Keaton's a part of it.
Oh yeah, like
And
the round table
yeah, the
discussions.
Yeah,
round
Like,
table,
love
like
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Hollywood,
Those are
yeah,
great.
Hollywood
Hmm.
round table. I love those. And like
Yeah, those are great.
there's a new one with like Michael Keaton, and he talks about like becoming a character, how to do a character. He says this thing like, after a while, like nothing becomes nothing becomes nothing because it's all a part of the same thing. And so like
Hmm.
you pick and you choose, like, because you've done this before, and so like it's just going back into those like pockets and like pulling what
Yeah.
you've already done. And if you think about it,
Hmm.
movies are like that. Like these themes have been done a billion times over, so now it's like it's nothing but it's something. But so you just gotta like plug in
Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
And so like when we were talking about this, I was like, this Michael Keaton thing, like I'm pretty sure I looked like I farted because I was like trying
But
to figure out what he said. So
Yep.
yeah.
based on that, what's interesting to me is that means that it's more of what's been done too much recently. So if you look back
Mhm.
to 10 years and the tropes have been overused, avoid those and go back to tropes from
Mhm.
20 years ago, and then just do a little spin on it. And you have a much better
Yeah, and
chance
just
of
play it.
having something
Yeah,
that
for
feels
sure.
Yeah.
fresh or
Hmm.
or will hit.
Especially
Yeah.
even if you take like old tropes and you put new faces in them, it's
Hmm.
still fresh.
Hmm.
It's still a different take because it's like, okay, we're used to seeing a certain type, do these things. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, but if I put it, because like if you put me and like put me and a white woman in like the same scenario, we're not gonna do the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? You give us the same type of tropes, we're not gonna do the same thing. So like that's the difference I think now is
Mhm.
that we're seeing more different people, different looking people for one, and then like
Oh yeah.
not even like color, but just like facially. Like
Mhm.
everybody's not a supermodel.
Yeah,
Like
No,
some
exactly.
they're
people
letting
are,
more regular
Exactly.
some
people
people
act.
are,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but they're actually letting like normal people come out and act and like not make them become something that they're not. So like when you put people like that, like real looking people into these tropes, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's cool. I was not kind of saw that coming. This is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Didn't think I would like it. Like, you know, so I think like that, like what you do when it comes to like new movies or new ideas and things like that. Like there's still things that you need people to know. Like there's still like tropes that
Yeah,
you
of
kind of need
course.
to have in a
Yeah.
movie so people can follow. But
Yeah.
then sometimes you can toss a trope on his head like Kingsman when he was like, oh, you think I'm gonna be like the villain who comes and tells the story? So you like
Right.
read a monologue and he just shoots him. And he's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what you're like. Oh,
Yeah.
But
Well,
see,
that's the thing. That's just like no, you're exactly right. Because the like with genre, every genre
hmm
has those things, but because of that, we have those expectations, and then boom, you can do exactly what you just said and play with those expectations
hmm
and turn them on its head. And like I think that's another reason why like we've seen so many like mixed genres too come,
Yeah,
because I feel like just like in the 2000s there have been more and more,
oh, yeah.
since then have been more, just mixing genres like sci-fi westerns and all those kind of
yeah.
things. But
And
yeah,
that
you're
stuff
totally
is
right.
fun because you
No,
don't know
yeah,
what you're going to get. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, I got this Western feel, but people get
There's like
murdered.
sci-fi.
Like,
Right. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
aliens in the desert now. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
like you know, it's kind of like. But then
Yeah, you don't
sometimes
really
you can get
expect.
cowboys and aliens, and it's bad. You know, you
Right.
kind
Yeah. I know.
of.
Yeah.
Which is so
It's
sad
kind
because
of,
it's a Favre film,
I
so I really
know.
wanted it to be
Yeah,
good. You
I
know,
and
know.
I
Me
love you,
too.
Daniel Craig, but woof,
Yeah.
boy,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah.
Even Harrison couldn't save it, and Harrison
No.
brings
No.
elevates most movies that he's
Yeah.
in.
Does he though? Is he
Most.
Han Solo or is he Indiana Jones? Which
No,
one
no.
is he
Look
in?
at other movies. I will argue for Harrison Ford's career outside of his mainstream stuff. So regarding Henry, Witness,
No, for sure. I
um,
mean, yeah, Witness is great.
Working
Yeah.
Girl, like the man
Yeah.
knows how to become a character, and it's obvious because if you look at him outside of these characters, he is a strange individual. No offense,
Well,
Harrison, but you're an
yeah,
odd
yeah,
duck,
yeah.
and
Like
that's
just
okay.
watch interviews with him. Like, yeah. Well, like one of my favorite Harrison Ford films is What Lies Beneath, and that totally
hmm
like he's like such a different,
hmm
character in that movie. So
He's no
I
Han
like stuff
Solo.
like that.
yeah, exactly. He's no Han Solo
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
No, no, he's not.
Mm,
Yeah, but they got an
And
Indiana Jones 5 coming. So.
I'm not
I
saying
know.
he's the greatest actor of all time. I just,
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
he
But
gets typecast as Han Solo.
yeah.
Honestly, in what he does, he's the greatest
Mhm.
actor of all time.
Hmm?
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I feel like for me, an actor has to have, because like, okay, like I'm not saying that you can't have like a signature character because he has two. I know some people want
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah. You're
You know
right.
what I mean? Like, some people want one at least. Like he has
Mhm.
two,
3.
three.
Yeah, he's also Jack Ryan.
Oh, Jack Ryan. Yeah,
Played him
he
twice.
did. Yep.
And
He ain't my
refused to
Jack
play him the
Ryan.
first time, which I
Okay.
thought was
He's not
Yeah.
my
hilarious.
Jack Ryan. So it's just I
He's
don't
not
really
your
look at him
Jack
like that.
Ryan. That's fair.
He's not
Alec
my Jack
Baldwin
Ryan.
is my
So.
Jack Ryan, but that's
I do
So
love
I,
Alec
I
Baldwin's
respect
Jack
that.
Ryan.
He's not my Jack Ryan.
I do love
But for me,
Krasinski's Jack Ryan though
I do
too.
like Krasinski's Jack
Yeah,
Ryan though. Like yeah, I think that's my Jack Ryan. Like,
yeah, it's
if
pretty good.
if I'm being totally
Yeah.
honest. But like for me, Harrison Ford, I would say three because you said three. I would just say three. He has like three like distinctive characters that people know him, but two are fairly mainstream. No, that's fine. But like, but like a lot of people want one, and I'm not like typecasting that, but I feel
No,
like
totally.
some of my favorite actors are actors that even if they have like certain mannerisms that are the same, I can still see the other character, right? Because
Right.
like, okay, for example, Denzel
Mhm.
Washington has
Oh man.
things about himself that
Yeah.
you're like, that's a Denzel Washington thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Denzel
he
thing.
broght that to
You know,
set with him. They
I
did not
you
freaking
know
write
what
that
I'm
love
into
it
the
saying?
though. I
film.
love
Right.
it though. Oh god, I
You
love it
know,
so much.
it's so good
Yeah.
that
It's
it's
just
like, he ate that character alive, right? And it's
yeah.
and if you go through his filmography, there's so many characters or even like real
Mhm.
people like Malcolm X and what's his name from American Gangster, like the guy that he plays, I forget his name.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
He actually played like real people, and he
Yeah.
still does like he still sprinkles a little bit of that Denzelism,
Mhm.
but you're
Oh
still
yeah.
like, man, I needed it. It's so good. For
It's okay.
me, not saying Harrison Ford is a bad actor, like by far. If I could be in a movie with him,
Right.
I would be up the creek. I'd be like, yes, let's do it. I'll do whatever. But he's not like somebody that'll be like on my list because it's just like I feel like he's kind of
Yeah,
one note
that's
in a way.
fair.
If you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he's
you
also
know,
up there now, and there's not a lot more for
Right.
him. There's some,
I don't
but
know, no, for
Well,
sure. I mean, I get that, but also, I
yeah.
mean, Denzel's kind of old too. He's still on his,
the only time I ever saw
karate chop.
Denzel not bring Denzel to the set was in Glory, and in Glory he plays a very specific
Yeah, I think that's
character.
because it's so early in his career too.
Yeah,
Agreed. He
it's
hadn't
way
found the
early, yeah.
signature.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if you watch Devil in a Blue Dress, which was I think like a year before or after, he still
Yeah.
had those signature Denzel things. So I think he toned it down for the film itself. But
But
Right.
also, it
otherwise,
could be a director because after a
Mm-hmm.
while, I think people hire what they want to see. Like when you hire Denzel Washington, you know what you're getting. When you
right.
hire Sarah
Yeah.
Silverman, you know you're going to get this high pitchy. You know what I mean? Like you know what you're going to get when you
Right.
hire
Yeah,
these
Sarah
people. So it's
Silverman.
just like, listen, I
Yeah.
was thinking about Wreck-It Ralph in my head for
Oh yeah, yeah. No, totally.
like,
I love it.
No,
so like
I mean
you know what you're
that
going
does
to get.
paint a picture though. Like you know
Yeah,
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, like
yeah,
with them. Yeah, I think that's why like they end up working with so many of the same directors. Like he worked with Tony Scott multiple times. He worked
oh
with
my
Spike
God,
Lee
yeah.
multiple times.
Because
So
you want a certain thing, and like
yeah,
oh, he can give it to me,
yeah. This
and
is
it
like
just
guaranteed. Like
I
yeah,
just learned like just being like different like acting things and classes and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
work with the people that you know one is gonna work and then two you can have fun with.
Yeah,
That's why
Well, you
in
feel
Hollywood
comfortable with, right?
you see the same faces all the time because it's like I know I'm gonna have a good time with them on set and I know that they're gonna come here with the work and
Yep.
and get it done and we're gonna get out of here. So like that's why sometimes it's frustrating that I'm like we're the new people. We're the new actors and it's like it's probably very trying and hard to work with like a fresh person who like
yeah,
probably doesn't know what a mark on the ground is or like what this is or how to like find their
yeah.
camera,
Hopefully they
find their
like
you know what I mean? You would
yeah,
hope, but
yeah.
I've watched I watched another roundtable.
Oh
This
yeah.
one was all women, and it had the
Mhm.
I believe her name is like Hong Yi or Hong Lee or something like that. She's the lead female from Squid Game. Squid Game. She's the lead
Oh
from
yeah.
Squid Game.
Okay.
I would advise everybody to go watch that one because like it was her, it was like Lily James, Amy Rossum, Sandra Oh, Rosario Dawson. Like it was a great like it was Christina Ricci was a
You
great
caught
panel.
my attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like it's a great panel, and she talked about, and I think like even like Christina Ricci a little bit talked about because she's been a child actress and same thing
Mhm.
with Amy Rossum. They were like very young. Talked about how like the difference and like how daunting it was when they were like on set and like just kind of like learning on set and like figuring like okay this is where I stand and like why did you move this or knowing my camera angles like those things are very daunting in the beginning and I think that's why we don't see a lot of new people because it's just like especially with higher like older directors or like higher
Or higher
because
budget
they're like
films.
higher budget films because it's just like
Yeah.
yo this is a lot
You
of
don't have that.
money this
You don't have that
we don't have
time.
time to train you and that's why like the thing is like you start indie
Or
Yeah,
you
horror.
a
exactly.
couple
Or
You
horror.
start something.
or
Yeah.
you start kind of low
You kind of
budget
learn
and
those
then you
basic
build
set
your way
things.
up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just
Yeah,
interesting.
the more I've gotten from just being a person who understands film to meeting more people and learning more over the last 2 years, specifically since I've been meeting people directly due to TikTok and other
Yeah.
things like that, I've
Mhm.
started to see that there are like 5 tiers to this. There's
Mhm.
E level and D level and C level, and we all are used to seeing B level, and we think everybody's an A level actor or director, and it's like no, like
No.
you gotta you have to be hitting movies constantly to be those tiers and to be given those ridiculous budgets. Although we're seeing a little more B level, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but just kind of
No.
tiering it out. B
Yeah.
level directors and B level actors are getting a lot more work because of things like Marvel, where there's so many more productions that need to be done that they're
Yeah.
like, hey, come on in here and try this out. We've seen your work on these couple of films. Let's try this out.
Mhm.
You're going to be watched. We're
Yeah,
going to
and
make sure we do it right.
I wonder too if like if like Feige and them are like willing to take more chances on those kind of directors because of the Marvel brand too. Like they're like, well, we already kind of know that a certain amount of people we're gonna get butts in the seats, So let's take a chance with this guy. He's done some good stuff for this girl,
Mhm.
and and hopefully they still like give us a solid,
Yeah, it's not so much
solid
of a
film.
it's
So
not so much of a gamble.
yeah, exactly. It's not as much of a gamble.
Well,
You
you're
know what I
handing
mean?
him a
It's like,
playbook, right? You're going, here's how
yeah,
we do
yeah,
it.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
there's like
yeah, yeah.
Which isn't a bad
And
thing. I don't think it's a bad
no,
thing. It's almost like people are going to start going to Marvel movies to learn their craft, and then they'll branch out to
right?
I'm,
other
I'm,
movies.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure film schools or film classes going to have a Marvel 101 or something like that. Marvel's going to be the subject of a lot of like
Yeah.
talk and
At least in
breakdown.
producer school, not the producers.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, there was like we had a whole production class, but it was not just about I mean, it was about producing, but it was about like a very like nuts and bolts kind of producing thing. It wasn't really about like funding. It was all about the binder, like the production binder and all the things that go in your production binder. But essentially, like it's very, on a larger scale, there's like a production binder. There are like production binders on bigger films too. It's more spread out, so
That's interesting.
you kind of learn those kind of things, then you can kind of like branch out based on like what's in the production binder kind of thing. So there was kind of producing classes, just depending on the film school. I don't know what like USC or
Yeah.
UCLA does, but I'm sure they're doing like legit no shit Kevin
Bringing
Feige
in,
school, basically. Like
Feige's
Yeah,
going to be in for the
probably.
day. We're going to talk about production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have so many alums at like USC. It's like unreal how many like famous alums they have.
Why don't we rate the Iron
NYU
Giant?
too.
Why don't we rate the Iron Giant
Right.
and move on to Rango? Because it sounds like we could do a whole podcast just about film.
Probably.
Not rating
Probably.
films, not reviewing
Honestly,
films.
we should literally have a day where we just chat, like a chat day where we just talk.
Schedules are difficult. I think that's the only thing that's stopping us.
No. I meant like on a regular Sunday,
On a
like
show,
on a
yeah.
regular show where we just have like if we don't review any movies or TV shows, we just talk about what's like movies and stuff. We just talk about whatever we want to talk about.
I don't know how to do. I'm kidding. Sitting here doing it for half an
Lies.
hour.
No, literally
okay.
lies.
So being that I picked this film, I'm gonna go ahead and rate it first.
Okay.
I did not think I would love this film, especially even in the first 20 minutes. I was like, okay, where's it going? But then I always have to stop myself and go, that's character development part. Shut up, watch the movie. I do it to myself all the time. I'm like, but to me, the beginning of every movie is an origin story, and those tend to drive me nuts.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Once I can get into the characters, then I'm fine. So once Vin Diesel started talking, essentially, I got into the characters. And when the movie was over, I muttered to myself, I was like, huh, that was perfect. And then I walked over to my wife to like help her with the baby, and I was crying, and she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, Iron Giant. And so 10. It's a 10. And if I had just bit the bullet, I would have loved this when I was 22.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. All the movie things.
Yeah, this is really great. Like I said, I loved the era they set it in. Love the character design and just I don't know, like I got this like sense of warmth with the whole movie. Like the whole film just like had warmth coming from it, not just like emotion wise, but look and feel too. It just felt like it was 99, but it did feel like it really was coming from another era, and I would give it, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 for me.
8.5. All right.
Yeah.
How about you, Lala?
Give me a second. Scratching my back. Give me a minute. I can't think. Okay. Whew, that took a lot out of me. Anyway, this film made me cry. I was super surprised at how it went. Again, for me, I don't know what I want from animations or movies, period. But like, it did move a little slow in the beginning for me. And I don't mean slow in the sense of like I needed more action, because that's usually what people say when they say slow. I just meant like story-wise, there were some things in the beginning. I was just like, all right, we get it. Single mom, we can speed it up just a hair. Like we kind of get it, like type of thing. He's Kooky Kid, we get it. Like keep going. Like he was a squirrel as a pet. Like it's like keep going. But all in all, this movie was great. Once they really got into it, once they really like sat in it and like he met the giant, like to me that's where the magic, I guess, started to happen for me, and like the story really became like full of things for me. And again, I cried, so I tried to hold it back, but because I was on camera, but I was like, I gotta be real for people on YouTube.
That's right.
So I give it a 9. I'll give it a
Right.
solid 9. I thought this is
Nice.
this is I'll add it to my library. Like I'll actually probably like purchase this and like add it to my
Cool.
library. It's really good.
I said this
Even though I
is
don't
a.
have it on HBO Max, but
I said to my wife, I said this is a new family favorite. And she's like, a new family favorite. I'm like, oh yeah, so this will get watched all the time now. So
Well,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
put this in with the kids' movies. We're gonna keep watching it.
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about.
It's just fun.
Oh no, please.
Rango. No, I'm just saying like it's just fun. It was just like a fun like watch. It wasn't like hard to like decipher. It wasn't hard to like get into. There's
Yeah.
layers and levels to it, but it was just like fun to watch. Like everybody wants to be that kid that discovers something that becomes their friend. Like everybody wants that. Like I think since ET, I've been waiting to find my alien friend or my robot
All
friend.
right.
Like I've been waiting.
I'll take an ET.
I know. You
Mhm.
know, I've been waiting. So like I feel like these type of films are always great. You know what I mean? Like a lonely kid finding a friend. I mean, you see at the end that he like they're his friends now because it's like, see, I told
Yeah.
y'all it was a 50-foot, like 100-foot robot. No, but like now he knows that he can make friends. He knows that he can branch out. Like, I just loved it. I thought it was great that they were all piling on each other at the end. No, literally, when he put his finger, finger on his head, he's like, Hogarth. It was like, oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Totally ET. So our next
Yeah.
movie is Rango, and this stars Johnny Depp, and this is a little different spin on the Western, as we were mentioning before. And why don't we start out with Black Girl Marvel?
Okay, so I technically say I kind of say this is my first time seeing Rango because I've seen I want to say I started to watch it and then I was like, this is weird. Nope. And I just cut it off and went somewhere else. I really feel like Rango is what the Lion King tried to be. They just did it way too well because if you really look at the animation of these animals, they do look like real animals. Like looks like a real gecko, looks like a real armadillo. Like they look real, but their faces can emote as opposed to the Lion King, where
Oh man.
those faces could not emote, so it didn't elicit the same emotional response. So I went into this film really again. I'm like, just shave 10 minutes for me, just shave 10 minutes, because in the beginning I was just like, what is this film? I was like, what? I was kind of a little annoyed. I was like, okay, what are we getting to? I was like, what is his purpose? I'm like, he's an actor, and then after a while I was like, he's a con man. I was like, but there's not too far in between being an actor and a con man. Like that's your job is to kind of
convince people that you are somebody else.
You are somebody else, and he was doing that aces like spades. He was just really good, and so it took me a minute to kind of get into it, but I think the moment that really kind of got me seated is when the little girl, played by Abigail Breslin, by the way, this is a stat cast as well.
Yeah, it was.
She was like, "Are you gonna bring the water back?" And he was like, I promised or whatever. And I was just like, oh, okay. He made a promise to a child. And I don't know, something about that got me into the movie even more. I was like, because I felt like it had actual stakes now, because it was like he made a promise and he got this squad and they're gonna go out, and then it got even more real when they found out that he lied. Like when the Bill Nighy rattlesnake came in. I love me some Bill Nighy. Like he just so good. He was just like, tell them the truth. I'm like, you never can use this. Bill Nighy is one of those people too that when you hire him, you know what you're going to get.
You're going to get either a funny, goofy British guy or an extremely evil person.
Yes,
one or the other.
All the time. And every time I watch this movie, every scene that I saw, I was like, this is Pirates of the Caribbean, and this is Pirates of the Caribbean, and this is Pirates of the... And then you find out that Gore Verbinski he's Pirates of the Caribbean. And then and then it was great because you saw Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow go at it again, but they were just in their ranks. So I was enjoying that throughout the whole thing, and so for me,
Hans Zimmer did the music.
So it was just it was just great. It was just but it had to get to that point for me to really care about the characters, because it was just it's a very weird film. It's very weird. It's how he speaks, the certain words he uses. He has a great vocabulary. It's very Moira from Schitt's Creek. It's you know a lot of words, man. And it's just, but it was interesting to see him start as a pet, and then become his own, gecko or
Chameleon.
whatever.
Yeah.
Chameleon. Yeah, chameleon.
Yeah.
It's like his own. So I enjoy that aspect.
All right. All the movie things.
Yeah, I love this movie. I've seen this one a couple times,
Ooh.
and yeah, it's just I love it because it's weird and it's different, and the animation is just like incredible. I mean, like it is detail upon
Mhm.
detail upon
Really good
detail upon
animation.
texture, just so much texture. Like it felt lived in. Like there's things
Mhm.
you felt like you could touch things. Like felt very tangible,
The dust
but
felt
also
like it was
like
getting in your lungs.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
totally, yeah, like he yeah, when he tried to spit and just dust
Oh
coming
my god,
out,
yes.
like,
I was like, "You're dry, bud." I'm like, "I'm so
yeah,
sorry."
God,
Like, I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, it's so good, and like you felt the heat of the
Mhm.
sun. I love like it felt like they were like hyper real animals, like they were
Mhm.
real, but then like pushed beyond that, and like I love that they were like not perfect. They
Yeah.
had, I mean, Rango himself's got this crooked neck and one eye is bigger than the other. And he's got kind of this crooked smile, and like all the other animals in the town were like, I mean, they're all like rugged, roughed up. Some are missing teeth, and
Some have
everything. And
arrows through the eye for no
yeah,
reason.
like it's like
No,
yeah,
that was nuts. Like that arrow that's like right here. I was like, "What is happening? What
yeah,
happened, sir?"
it's
I was
so
like,
good.
"What
I
happened?"
But it's
love
just,
that.
Yeah.
Like,
chicken brains are small enough. It missed.
yeah, it missed,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is like it's not they're not Disney perfect animals. They're not cute and cuddly, and
Mhm.
you see like one of the rabbits is like missing an ear, and yeah, I just love that it was so weird, and like I dug I really dug into this movie just as far as like how it was shot and everything, and like and they the way this film was approached was a little different than most animated things. They actually had the cast together and they mic'd them and they like did their
Mhm.
moves and they worked together in like an environment. They didn't necessarily do motion capture with
But they
them,
had
but
their props.
yeah, exactly. They had
Yeah.
all the things so
Yeah.
they could like emote and react to it with each other and everything. So
And
I
I'm
thought that
pretty
was
sure
really
that
great.
ended up on screen. Like I'm pretty sure they saw some of
Oh,
that
I'm
and was just
sure. Yeah, they
like,
use it
"Oh,
as
let's."
reference, and yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
put
yeah,
it
yeah,
ended up on screen. Yeah.
yeah, for
It
sure.
it sounded lived in. Like my voice teacher used to say like they can hear you smile.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
uh-huh.
So if it says smile in the script, like you actually have to smile. You can't
Yeah,
fake a smile, and they can hear a smile. So for me, I could hear like all the frustration. I could hear the lies. I can hear I could just hear things that you just, and then they emoted it very well on the
yeah.
characters too. So that was very cool to see.
So
But yeah, no, really liked it. Yeah,
for
it's great.
myself, I didn't get to finish the movie, but I'm like 10
Oh
minutes from the end,
my
maybe
god!
15.
Oh,
So, I will finish it after the show. And,
watch it now. We'll
I,
wait.
Well, wait.
hold on. No. Um, but from what I saw, like I had resisted this movie for a lot of reasons, and I think that it was mostly just due to the saturation of the animation market during this 10-year period.
Mhm.
We were getting to the point where every corporation was like, "We have an animation studio," and I'm like, "Do you though? Like, do you?"
Right.
No,
Um,
like really, do you?
like an Illumination Studios was coming up, and I know everybody loves them, and I've finally come around to some of their movies, but a lot of the companies I was like, "Oh, guys, I trust me, I don't want it to all be Disney. I like the competition, but
Yeah.
um, so I resisted it, and it's a Western, so like my
Your aversion to
yeah,
westerns,
I
yes.
do that every time.
We
Um,
know. No.
so and that's fair. That's my genre that I'm against. Uh, but these are the kinds of movies that make me appreciate the Western genre, or at least able to be brought further into it, I guess. But I was entertained as hell by the beginning of this movie. The fact that he was living by himself in that little terrarium,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the glass that he slides along, and then just all those little
Yeah. Oh my God.
sequences
Yeah,
with the
that was really good.
with the water getting
Yeah.
sucked up, and then he
Yeah.
Like
molts.
he's
He
like,
molts
Yeah.
because he's
Like.
dry, and then he breaks. I'm like, oh, he had to
yeah,
molt, and then it happens again. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
man, he
yeah,
is screwed.
yeah.
Um, but I like that this movie essentially was the embodiment of fake it until you make it. And
Mhm.
he really did gain the confidence because he kept trying to pretend like he had it. He ended up
Mhm.
with that confidence, and I loved it. Biggie mentioned something he wanted to say one of us
Yeah,
should
there's a
mention.
couple of things I think he's talking about, but I think.
So
But go ahead.
there's a bunch of Fear and Loathing references in this film,
Oh, yeah.
including the fact
Yeah,
that Hunter S. Thompson and the Doctor are
Yes.
in the film for a moment. But then the bats, like
Mhm.
the bats, end up being in the film, and you're like, wait, are these the bats like that he's talking about? Maybe. And then of course, isn't there a moment where he's dreaming and it's
Yeah,
very psychedelic? So
Yeah.
there's
but it,
definitely those elements that.
but wasn't
you
that
know,
Clint? Wasn't that Clint Eastwood? Didn't Timothy
Yeah, there's a
Olyphant play like Clint Eastwood?
there's a
Like
Clint
that's
Eastwood character.
yeah. I was
Timothy
just like
Olyphant did the voice.
Timothy
yeah,
Olyphant, yeah.
Yeah.
Timothy
yeah. And I even
Olyphantastic.
Yeah.
oh wow, you're fired.
Oh no, that's a Kevin Smith thing.
You're still fired because
He's
you said
fired.
it too. You're fired.
I've been saying
But I
it for
love the.
a decade.
I've
but,
never
yeah.
seen Fear and Loathing
Oh really?
in Las Vegas. I've never seen it, but it's crazy because I have things in my brain that I don't even know I have. So when that scene came up and he was like going through the spokes and he was on the windows and he was on the windshield, I was like, isn't that Johnny's character from like,
Right.
but like,
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I know of it, but I've
Oh
never
yeah,
seen it.
yeah,
And like,
totally.
and I was
Yeah.
like, I think it is, and I was like, their shirts are even similar,
And
like
also they're so close to
the flowery,
Vegas.
Mhm.
yeah,
You
like the
know, like
flowery thing that Rango has
yeah.
on is very similar to
Yeah.
like what he had on, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just like, I'm just looking at this like it's like very meta in a way. It was just
Totally.
like kind of watching it.
Well,
So that
also
was
the thing too with like this is back to the Clint Eastwood character. His golf cart when he turns it around, there's like all these Oscars in the back of the,
yeah, I was
of the
yeah,
golf cart.
I was like, that's so good. I was like,
Yeah.
that's Clint Eastwood. I was like, that's obviously Clint Eastwood. I was
I
like,
know. I love
super
that
good.
stuff. Yeah.
But also, I mean, I like the world building. I like that it felt very like I think Cindy said this. It felt very lived in, like. But also, I was like, so no humans saw this little town in the middle of the desert. Like,
Okay,
what
that I
Right.
kept wondering about.
Like
So that
way
makes
out
me
there,
wonder
I
if
guess.
maybe the whole film is him in his death throes because he died during the accident and he imagines this because he should have
Oh, that's
dehydrated.
dark.
The
That's
whole movie. So this movie is PG, but I think it's borderline PG-13
Oh man,
because
no,
it is.
totally.
There are
There's
some
like
moments where I was like,
yeah.
did he
No,
really
there's some
just say
moments.
that?
Even some of the
Yeah,
language,
they
yeah.
did.
So I
There's
was
some
like,
moments.
whoa,
I was
okay.
like,
Well,
I was
even
like,
right away,
okay.
the armadillo run in half and he's just chatting. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this
Not
is
even
the
that.
movie.
He's like, help me up, and I'm like, there's no getting up from this. Like, you guys don't get
Mhm.
up from this. And then like he's like, so you made it to the other side. It's like, is the other side death or limbo or something? You know
Right.
what I mean? Something like that. Because like you're here too, and
And the
I don't know.
spirit of the West is
Spirit of the
there.
West, is
Mhm.
there and things. But I don't know. I thought this film was like some of it was very beautiful. Like when he's like having like that hallucination, or who knows? It's
Mhm.
inception. It's whatever you want it to be.
Right.
At this point, when he's looking out and he sees like I think the armadillo played by Alfred Molina, I believe.
Mhm.
He goes like, "Isn't it beautiful?" And I was like, "This is the scene in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End when he's in Davy Jones's locker. Like this is literally what it looks like if you've seen it. It's like this beautiful, like very white sand or like white dirt type of like like lands." And I was just like, "Geez, Gloria, you didn't go too far with the Pirates of the Caribbean. You just was like, let's just go ahead and throw it in."
No, him and
Or he's
Johnny
like,
sat
break
down
this.
and were
I was
like,
just like,
what are the best movies I've ever made and you've ever made?
yeah,
Why don't we
let's
just put them all
let's just
together?
put them
There were
together.
even
Like, what
moments
is
with the
that?
music where it was like leaning Pirates of the Caribbean. I was like, oh my god, they're almost.
No, it
It's
was,
almost.
and I was just like, I think it's the scene where they're all like, they're all on their chickens when they're riding
Yeah,
chickens.
whatever
It
they
was like,
were. Yeah, they're little
and it was like the
birds.
sunset or something like that. Those
Yeah.
birds. I was like, this is Pirates of the
That's
okay.
good.
Like it's fine. I'm not mad. I'm just like, okay, that's good.
So there's another element that because Johnny did go down the drug hole a ways. That's it is what you start hanging out with Hunter S. Thompson, you're going to, as the movie says, garner a large drug collection. I think that the other because Biggie mentioned Don Quixote, which is classically the novel that started everything that we talk about. You want to get down to it. But the movies or the novels, I think that were maybe something Johnny read but didn't explicitly talk about was the Carlos Castaneda novels, which is basically about wandering the desert on mind-altering
Mhm.
substance. And the spirit of the desert made me feel of that, and just him running into dead creatures and talking
Well,
to
even
them.
that, yeah, the armadillo, yeah, for
All
sure.
of those kinds of
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
led me to go, okay, it's like a spiritual journey. There's definitely kind of a mind-altering concept here. And so you add
Mhm.
that to the Fear and Loathing, and then I'm like, this is a kids movie. Like I'm
Kids are not going to get any of that.
right.
You know,
No,
like
agreed,
understand those
agreed.
references.
But
You know,
then
like
when they grow up, they're gonna
yeah,
go. My parents let me watch this movie, but my parents let me watch Howard the Duck. So what does that say?
yeah, right.
Right. I watched a lot of stuff, so like
Oh, totally.
I
Me
mean,
too.
I said to myself like if I ever had kids, I don't know what I wouldn't let them watch because I watch. I mean, you're not gonna be. I mean, if you're like 3 and I'm watching something crazy, and like I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. Like it's like a thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I've watched a lot of stuff, and like I'm nuts, but I can handle my crazy. So it's just like one of those things. Where it's just like what not would let my kids watch? Like let's watch it together. Like
Yeah.
I like it. You might like it. I don't know. I don't know. Bad parent alert. I don't know.
I was worried about watching this in front of my 3-year-old. I was worried that some of the scenes might spook her
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
snakes are scary looking, the birds were scary looking.
Listen,
I didn't
I
really
will
want
say
to,
this.
I don't know.
That was great animation on Jake the rattlesnake because to have his rattle be the gun. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's
I was
pretty
just
cool.
like
Yeah,
I was like, wait a second. I was like, is his rattle the? I was like, oh, I said, shout
so
out to the
cool.
animators. I was like, that looks so cool. But also, it made me
Mhm.
think like he was Jake the rattlesnake, and if anybody remember like WWF like
Oh
wrestling,
yeah,
it was
I
like
totally thought that too.
Jake
Yeah,
the Snake
Jake the
Roberts.
Snake.
I was just like, it just made me go back to that moment, and I was just
Mhm.
like, interesting.
Yeah.
But that snake, he was quite menacing though, and I
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed that this animation had like an enemy that was very menacing, and I enjoyed that to the point where like even the turtle was like, yo, we didn't say we was gonna kill her. He was just like, you brought
Yeah, it's
me
like
in, let me do what I
this is
do.
what I do.
Like,
Uh-huh.
and I was just like, you didn't
You're
think,
too
even
far, too far
even when
gone.
the mayor was like, and I love that the mayor was like an old turtle, like a tortoise. Like, it was just like, of course you've been here forever. You're a freaking turtle. You're like a dinosaur. Of course you remember when there was water, and then like he's literally trying to change this into like a town. I was just like, just the thought of like, it makes perfect sense that like water would be the commodity because if you think about it, in our lives,
Mhm.
water is the commodity.
Mhm.
If we didn't have water all of a sudden, we would turn into like Rango characters.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
would be water is life, water is
Yeah.
everything, and like whoever controls the water controls the power. And it was just like that
Mhm.
made I love it's such a human concept among these like animals, and like I
Right.
thought it was very well done.
Did Book of Eli come out before this or after this? I think it was
Uh,
before.
I
I want to
think
say
it was
before.
after.
Because like from the mayor,
No,
I
it might have
kept
been
getting
before. It might have been like 2009. No, came out before 2010.
okay,
2010.
so not
Mhm.
long before.
Nope.
Yeah.
But the town and the mayor reminded me heavily of
I can get that.
Oh yeah.
of the
Yeah.
characters
Gary
from
Oldman's
Gary Oldman,
character.
and
Yeah.
instead of it being the Bible, it's water. Like that was the
Yeah.
commodity in this case,
Yeah.
and instead of I guess religious capital.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because it was like controlling ideas and those kind of things in that town
right.
and thought. So yeah, it's very similar
But I think
to
that's
that
a
one I
Western
thought
trope
too.
as well. I think that if we go back, I haven't
Mhm.
watched enough Westerns. Maybe I need to torture myself a little while and at least get a couple of the classics under my belt so I can be like,
Right.
okay, I see where all these tropes are coming from. But I kind of
Mhm.
already get it. Like, I don't know. I've seen enough twists on the tropes that I know the tropes. So
Mhm.
I've seen Star Wars. I don't watch Western. I've seen
That's
Mandalorian. I don't need to watch Westerns.
that's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's hilarious. You're so against it so bad that you chose yourself to watch it and you talked yourself out of watching it.
I know
It's
why
so
I'm
great.
against it. I'm against it mostly because of the era in which they were made, who was making them, and what they represent now to some degree, because it's an era of expansion in American history. It's an era of exploitation in American history, and it's all
Mhm.
about the white man being the good guy in so many ways.
Yeah.
All of that never sat right with
Yeah.
me, but the more I look now, and I'm like,
But it's like now we got like new westerns. We got like
right,
the Netflix
Right.
show with like all the black folks, and I was like, hey, what up,
Mhm.
y'all? We can be cowboys. Because I mean, essentially, we were cowboys back then. They just don't
Oh yeah.
talk about. They just don't talk about
There's
us
a
being
lot.
cowboys.
Yeah.
Like
to
we
my
were.
point. To my point, I think to
Yeah.
some degree.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
And so this movie, I kind of played off of those tropes, and I think it was trying to play against the tropes rather than exploiting them. But there were still there was some language I was like, a little. It's
Mhm.
2011, so we're even 10 years
But
later.
also, I feel like it's language that depending on the age of the child in 2011, they wouldn't quite. It to me, it's like landing on that like that Shrekness of it. Like it's like,
Mm.
oh, okay, you let some stuff slip, but like that's for the adults. Like none of the kids are gonna. They might grow up and
Right.
watch this later and be like, "Whoa, what was I watching?" As a
Right.
Well,
child,
the
but I
like
said
the
the
glove
Totally.
scene with the
oh yeah, he was
hemorrhage.
like,
I
"Who
was
needs a
like,
checkup?" And I was like,
I was like the bullfrog. I was just like,
it was
Yeah.
like,
It's
what are you
pretty good.
doing to me?
Like,
No.
yeah,
Odd choice of jokes in there, but I think that's what
yeah.
kind of gives it spirit. That movie had it has
But
Yeah.
I feel like the film started odd. You couldn't be like,
Oh yeah.
let me start him in a terrarium by himself, being
Mhm.
lonely, talking to inanimate objects,
Mhm.
and turning it to like, let's get real all of a sudden. Like, no, it
Yeah.
had to stay. It had to
No.
stay with that feel throughout. So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, because the tone would have totally been
yeah, it would have
been
changed.
totally
It would've-
off, and you're just like,
yeah,
whoa. Yeah. I agree.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I agree. It's like it's a weird film. Like,
Yeah.
but I like that it's weird. Even though
Yeah.
it took me a minute to get into it, I don't think I would want it to be any other way.
Are you guys going
It
to tell
has
me
No.
how
to.
it ended and if it's good? Because I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great ending.
But
Yeah, yeah,
but how does it end?
Well, so what part did you
yeah.
stop
Where did you
at?
leave off?
That's a good question.
Did he s- did he
Terrible.
see the Spirit of the West already and
He
talk
was
to
at the
him,
Spirit of the West when I had to
and
stop
were
watching.
those
Okay.
like those desert
The
trees
desert, the
kind of
walking
like
cactuses.
leading him to
No,
water? Okay, so there's this
Okay.
whole thing where the desert trees are kind of like leading him to like a water source, and he finds out. He starts putting everything together with the mud on the boot and the red clay in that area. He sees boot
And the
prints and
mayor,
stuff, and
because he walks up to
yeah,
a full city, like he pretty much walked up to Vegas. Like he walked up to
yeah,
like
he like
Las
rolled up in
Vegas,
this over this hill, and like there was
and then
Vegas.
he sees
Yeah,
is that
like
the
what
far west
Vegas.
he was talking about in the beginning?
yeah,
He was like, okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So he sees Vegas, and then he correlates it to what the mayor was creating.
yeah.
Because I feel like the mayor saw that too and was like, that's where the power is. Like he's trying to create like what humans have, and like
Mhm.
he's right next to a shut off valve, and so like he realizes that this is where the cutoff of the
The
water,
control
this is where the
was,
mayor has been getting his. That's why the mayor ain't never dry, because he's been just coming here, maybe turning it on a little bit, get a little water,
yeah,
and then
goes
putting the
back.
town under hostage. Otherwise,
yeah,
It's pretty,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
but like pretty much. And so um after that he puts it together. He decides to be the hero in which he claims to be, and
mhm.
he goes back to the mole people
Yeah. Which
and recruits,
I
which
love
is
all
hilarious.
the mole people.
the
All
mole
the
people
mole
on the
people
bats was pretty awesome. I
are
gotta give them
amazing,
credit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
amazing.
yeah, like they're like super redneck, like kind of hillbillies, like,
Oh my gosh, like,
and the
and
one
I
guy's
think
like,
they made
I
a
love when
didn't
they
they make
run.
an incest joke about
Yeah, I think
moles?
so.
They were
Yeah.
like it's a lot of family breeding in that, like, so, like I was like, I
so
was
much
like,
of
So
it.
oh my
good.
gosh.
This
I was
movie's
like, oh my
loaded.
gosh.
Damn. Yeah.
So he goes back to them, recruits them. They all have a plan, and he goes back and confronts Jake, and
Mhm.
eventually he gets the water cut back on for the town, and the mayor turns on um Jake
Jake. Yep, I had a feeling.
with Rango's gun, but Rango took the bullet out.
Yeah.
No, because he
The
Because
one
gave
there
him
was
the
like a
bullet
one
he
whole
bullet,
had,
right?
showdown,
That's
and
right.
like, yeah.
yeah, he took the one bullet out, and Jake noticed that he was going to double cross him, and he realized that Rango took the bullet, and he like
Yeah.
tipped his hat to him, so they have like a mutual respect
Yeah.
Oh,
because they're
Exactly.
both
baseball
legends.
signals. All right, I got you.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
both have like a mutual respect for each other, and so like the water comes back to the town. The mayor gets turned over to Jake.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Jake
happy.
like wraps
Does
him up.
Jake become the sheriff?
No, he kind of
No,
he like takes the mayor
he just
to
takes the
go do
mayor
God knows
and
what
just
to the
whatever.
mayor. So yeah,
Yeah,
To the Spirit of the
yeah.
yeah, he'll
West,
tell her.
Who knows? Yeah,
Who knows?
but
He
it
is a
ain't
snake.
good.
He
Whatever it
could be
is.
hungry. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, what Vicky said to exact his revenge, like whatever
Uh-huh.
was say it.
Yep.
And then the town's happy that Rango brought all the water back,
Yeah.
and
He like became who he said
yeah, he
he was
became
gonna
who he
be.
said he
You
was.
know.
I gotta give it to them. They never make the turtle the bad guy, so that's pretty cool that the turtle's the bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was,
Right.
but I love that he's the bad guy because he's literally the oldest, and it makes sense that he would be
Mhm.
jaded enough to be like,
Yeah,
well, we
because
need
he
to
talks
change
about
the way.
yeah, he talked about like, oh, I've been here since before they
Hmm.
since before the highway split the desert,
So
and
he was there
everything. And
before Vegas was Vegas, and there was enough
yeah,
stuff to go around.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Fair.
Yep.
yeah.
So he's like, okay,
Interesting.
I'm gonna
That's deep.
control the water too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
You're hilarious,
Yeah.
Biggie. I just want to throw that out there. You're hilarious. Yeah.
Oh god. He
He's
was obviously
slow.
going to get caught. He's
Hey-o.
slow. But again,
Yeah.
in the Hare and the Rabbit, or the Hare and the Tortoise, the tortoise is the
Yeah.
good guy, and so it's nice to see that trope
Yeah.
turned on its head.
Mhm.
I like that.
We
Yeah.
never did.
He was kind of menacing himself too, though, in a way, like very like
Yeah,
subtle,
like
a subtle menacing. And I feel like sometimes you don't have to be like a Jake the Snake in your face. You could be like a behind the scenes kind of menacing, and I enjoyed that. Even though he was like, "Oh, we don't kill people though,"
yeah.
until we do, until we do.
Until
I
I
ain't
have to
gonna
kill
hurt a
people.
guy because
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was cool to see too. Like, you see that you got this big bad snake outlaw,
Mhm.
and they made him out to be like, you think, oh, this is the ultimate bad guy here, and then it turns that around too, and they find this mutual respect for each other, and he
Respect
kind of
each other.
goes his own way,
Yeah. He was like
and
one legend to another, because
yeah,
Rango eventually had this legend of being like the guy who only had
These-
one bullet and
yeah,
knew
to
the
kill
things. And
the seven brothers, like
yeah,
So the
yeah.
little
But that, I
girl,
love that scene though.
yeah,
I
it
love
was
that
really
scene.
good. Yeah,
the little girl that
Little
ultimately
girl.
owned this chameleon. What's his real name? Rango's his taken name.
I think it's
stage
Yeah.
they said it's Lars in Wikipedia. They said it's Lars, but
Lars.
I
Yeah,
never
I
hear
don't
hear
know
them
where
say.
they. Yeah,
I
Maybe
never
it's in the
hear them
credits.
say
It
it.
might be in the
Maybe
credits.
it's in the credits. Yeah, it might be in the credits. I didn't really
Maybe
look.
it's like
Yeah.
on his
So
terrarium during a like freeze frame.
yeah,
or
maybe
something.
there's like, yeah,
when you look it up in
I didn't notice it.
on Google, it says Johnny Depp plays Rango / Lars.
Right. Okay.
You know, yeah.
Funny.
Although
But I mean,
trust me, I like the idea of him giving himself a name and assuming a name, especially in
I
today's
mean,
world.
because
That's a good thing.
it's, but it also falls into character with his. It falls in line with his character, because he was just like, he's been playing this part in this terrarium for so long. Mind you, I
Mhm.
love that he had like a little cup in the
I know.
terrarium. Like, where did they get that? I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But it's like when he got to this town, and think about it, a lot of people do this. They move, they go somewhere new. They either become who they have always wanted to be, or they become somebody different to see, you know, I'm somewhere different. Nobody knows me. I can be whoever I want to
Mhm.
be, and that's literally what Rango did. He was just like, I'm going to be. He's so naive. And you think about it, like house animals are naive compared to like animals that's been living out in the world. So like he's so naive to be like, like telling everybody I didn't kill all these people, I did all these things, and I'm one bullet and standing on top of stuff, and it was just like funny to see. And then when the snake comes in and just crushes all that, and you see how he cowers.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like,
Right. Yeah.
he was like, tell us how you did it. Speak louder. I was just like,
But he doubled down. He found the
Yeah, he
courage
did.
and he doubled
He
down.
kept.
No,
Yeah.
he did it, and I like that.
Also,
But I
can we
also
talk
like that he had a
talk
love
about
interest that
the
wasn't a love
genius of making him a chameleon?
Oh yeah.
Like he's
yeah,
a
yeah.
chameleon, and like he can't blend
He can't
into like
chameleon.
things. Like yeah, he can't.
He can't
No.
chameleon.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Think about it. He
So
never
that's
had
definitely
to.
part of it. Like
Well, no,
yeah.
yeah.
He never had to, and I think
Yeah.
that
Right.
was the thing too. And like the girl had like a defense mechanism where she like, oh,
That was
which
so bizarre.
lizards do that when they're like
Yeah.
think they're about to get attacked or hurt or something. They'll just freeze because it's like you can't see me if I freeze. And for her to kind of have that, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that about her character. It made her just as zany as like him,
Uh-huh.
And then like, and then I love that she did it once to like just stop a conversation from happening. She was just like,
That's not untrue. People do that. They will use
they
those
do.
things.
I love that so much. And then he kissed her on the cheek, and I love it. It was like, it wasn't something that was overly done, even in the animation. It was just like, okay, he obviously you knew these two characters were gonna like each other. That's just like that was a trope that you could see a mile away, but it didn't overshadow the theme of him finding himself.
Right.
He didn't find himself in her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like I love that. So.
Yeah.
One last thought on him
Oh,
being
for
a
sure.
chameleon. I did love that in the very beginning that he's told to hide, and so he lays down and tries to turn to the color of his shirt really hard. He's
he
like,
changes all kinds of different
and I'm
colors.
like, take off the freaking Hawaiian, dude. What are you doing? Like
Yeah.
what are you doing with this Hawaiian
Funny.
shirt? I feel like if he
But
had
think
just
about it
stripped
though,
it off,
that's a part of who he was at that moment.
I know.
The moment he became Rango. you like my new fit. He had on like the long johns like that they had back then. I was
Yeah.
dying.
I love that he kept like slowly piecing himself together as he's walking around the bar, getting the confidence. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
here's my hat and here's my toothpick and all.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
snatched it out of his mouth, I was just like, well, he's feeling himself right now. I was like, he's
Right.
Oh yeah.
real
The confidence
hard.
is growing,
He's playing the part.
right? So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and let's rate this, and then we have another movie to move on to. But I'm gonna let you guys rate it, and I am not going to actually give it a rating just due to the fact that I didn't
Mhm.
finish it, and I don't want to be that person. But go ahead. Let's have Lala start.
Great film. I didn't cry, but it was still a great film.
Mhm.
I love the characters, loved everything about it. I would give Rango, give it a 7.5. It's rewatchable. It's zany. It's kooky. It's not something that I would have like high on my list to watch a lot, but I would watch it again, like maybe in like 6 months or something like that. So yeah, 7.5.
All right, all the movie things.
I love John Biggie.
Yeah, I would give this a 9 for me. There's the Deacons factor that pushes it up for me, of course. So
Pushes it up like 3. No.
yeah, like pretty much.
It's a
I
12.
mean, yeah,
You know.
exactly.
You know,
I mean, Roger
he-
Deakins
man.
cannot do,
I do
doesn't
love
do
the
any
way
wrong.
he's
Like,
listed though as cinematographer consultant.
yeah, because the thing is, like, he's not like literally doing cinematography, like,
Yeah.
and he talks about this on his podcast. There's a whole animation. There's a 2-part animation episode on his podcast. And he talked about the crazy, like the really unique approach to animation. And he actually worked on Wall-E. He's not credited on Wall-E for some
Well, it
reason,
makes
but
sense though.
yeah, like
That's rude. That's rude. So I've been
that
watching
whole
movies for a minute then.
right. So that whole opening stuff on the planet on Earth is
Mhm.
all Deacons.
That makes
Deacons work
perfect
like
sense.
that.
That
Oh,
makes
he should have
absolute
got a
perfect sense.
credit.
Yeah.
He should got a credit in that. They
I
wrote
know.
for that one.
Yeah, and like the thing is too, like if you look at some of the desert scenes in this, it very much looks like Earth on Wall-E. Like there's some very like reminiscent things on there. But yes, the D train. You guys are awesome. But yeah, I mean some of this was like gorgeous. I mean, like the
Mhm.
whole bar scene. I mean, I can't get enough of the bar scene. Like I just love looking at it because there's like it's dark in spots and there's like all these shafts of light. And I mentioned too, like earlier, like Deacon said, there was some pushback with some of the animators because they wanted to see more of their work on there. And they're like, listen, this is not how this is. You get these like pools of light coming in. This is not how like their faces would react to this light or lack of light. We'd have to have some kind of stuff in shadow. And he loves putting stuff in shadow. Like he's not afraid to even silhouette, people, which he does. That's like a kind of his signature thing. And
I like a good shadow.
yeah, he's like, it's so great. Just play with these things and like what's not there, is just as important as what is
Yeah,
there.
True with
laser.
music
You
too.
know.
What's
Yeah.
silent
Oh,
is as
totally.
important as what's
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
made.
Yeah. And sound and like
Mhm.
yeah. And yeah, just so much of this stuff was just so like it's one of the more gorgeous animated films that I've seen in a while. And I just love so much detail, so much texture in this, for the light to play with too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and like this is like what 2011 and
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
man, like I feel like I don't know, I feel like a lot of films aren't looking like this. A lot of animated films aren't looking like this. That's like they're trying to, but they still have I think they're afraid to go the ugly route, and make things look
Yeah, they
Or
are.
like you
off
mentioned
and
at the
like
beginning of the podcast, you mentioned how artists don't like to see their stuff covered up. But one of
yeah.
the first parts of art, like if you watch everybody's favorite Bob Ross, he
Right.
will paint a whole mountain and then cover 90% of it up.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, "What are you
exactly.
doing?" And then I realized as I started doing my own art that's a
Yeah.
huge part of it is you're trying to make sure the
Totally.
detail is perfect even in the background, but you have to make it
Exactly.
in its full
Mhm.
form for that to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to get covered up, but when you do see it, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of great stuff that he did in this. So yeah. the Deacon's Factor bumps it up.
2011 though, like that blows my mind.
No,
Uh,
2011, yeah.
Tyler,
You know
And you got
what?
to think before 2011 because it came out in
right?
2011, so
So
they're
this
doing
was like
this stuff like
2009, 2010.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So
I take
Tyler
it back.
was actually
Give it.
talking
I'm
about.
gonna give it 0.5.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You, yeah,
No, I'm gonna give it an 8 because
you're bumping it.
it is. I'm bumping it by 5.5 because it's beautiful. It is a beautiful film.
Sweet.
The
I have to give
Deacon's
it. I have to give it
Factor.
I love
0.5.
that. Yeah.
It's a Deacon's Factor, right? I give it 0.5. But go ahead, Stevie. Sorry to
No,
cut
no,
you
you're
off.
good.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
Tyler just for the first time saw Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Disney version.
Oh yeah.
And he reviewed
Mhm.
it, and it's a great review if you haven't seen it on TikTok.
Mhm.
I just he's using his directorial stuff now when he's doing his videos, and
Yeah.
I'm happy because I'm like, dude, you're a good
Mhm.
director. Keep doing this because it elevates your content. But his breakdown of even the CGI for that film, which it's 20 years old now,
Mhm.
he's like, it's still on par. And I agree. I watch it all the time. That movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what it is about the right people and the right studios, but they do such a brilliant job with the animation that it fits just right and doesn't seem to age like
Yeah.
other movies do.
Yeah.
Because there are movies the same age as Hitchhiker's Guide or Rango that are animated
No,
that don't look
totally.
as good.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Wow.
Mhm.
All right, we got another movie to review. We've got 35 minutes,
Sweet.
but we don't have 65 minutes. 65 million years. Bad joke. Okay, we're gonna
Oh.
review The Good Dinosaur.
Just like that
Um,
asteroid and went right over my head.
The Good Dinosaur is, of course, a Pixar film, and this is one of the first ones where they broke out and had a main human character besides obviously Chewie, but the human
Right.
character wasn't
didn't
ever a
speak.
main, right?
Yeah.
So this is an interesting movie, and it's not your typical Pixar, except for that it'll make you cry because Pixar movies.
Oof.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But this is another dad movie. We keep picking dad movies, which
Man, I know.
just destroy me.
Yeah.
Because they do.
Man.
But all the movie things. Was this your first viewings, 10th viewing?
This
How
is
many
my
times?
first viewing of this
Ooh.
one. Yeah. And it was one of those ones that I wanted to see, you know, because I love Pixar. And for some reason, too, like, as far as like my awareness of it was, it felt like this was one of the Pixar films that was kind of like on the lower end for people, for a
Mhm.
lot of people. So it like didn't really do as well as most of Pixar. And it's not really talked about a lot as much as the other Pixar films, but man, I really loved it. It was like, um, you know, it is more of like the cutesy, you know, more like, I mean, it's Disney Pixar, so yeah. Other than, you know, it's kind of opposite end of Rango in a lot of ways. Still gorgeous though. Like, I mean, if you took out all the dinosaurs and all the like characters and just looked at like the environment, I was like, oh my god, this is gorgeous. I mean, they did such a great job with the environment. I mean, it looked like the Pacific Northwest in a lot of ways to me. Um, but yeah, no, I really loved it. I cried twice in it. And it was just, yeah, the themes are like right on par with a lot of what we've already talked about too. So it's, yeah, it's good.
Uh, I I was skeptical. This was my second time seeing the movie, and the first time I saw it, I was skeptical at the beginning, and for whatever reason, the second time I was still skeptical at the beginning, even though I knew how it was going to go, and I was just like, all right, Arlo, Buck, okay, Dad, and I have to drudge through this movie, and I know what's coming. I know I'm going to cry, and so I wasn't thrilled about it. But then he meets Spot, and I'm like, oh, that's right, Spot isn't. How can you not love Spot?
Yeah.
And or the like weird rhino character that he runs it. Just little fun
Yeah.
characters, you know, that they
Yeah,
run
that
into
was,
as
yeah.
they go.
I love that guy. Yeah.
But I think the theme of found family or accepting loss and finding kinship with somebody when you accept that you've lost someone, that crushed me. That whole howling scene. Like I'm gonna get
Oh,
into
yeah.
about it right now. But it
Mhm.
just it's almost like finding people, you know, nowadays we find each other on the internet because we can't find each other in person as much. And so there's a lot more connection through found family, shared experience. And I think that's what Spot and Ad was, a shared experience that brought them closer together. So love this
Yeah.
film. I really do. It's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but it's also heartwarming. It's one of those ones
Mhm.
that flips it both ways, which is great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For sure.
Lala.
Well, this was my pick. This is my movie pick. I own this film. So it's Disney, it's Pixar.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Disney films. I have a lot of Pixar films. I have a lot of Disney Pixar films. I agree with Brian. Like this is a film that like this was considered a box office bomb for Pixar, which was like unprecedented at the time because all of their films
Yeah.
were like just
Right.
A1 type of thing. But again, I think
Mhm.
the style of animation, especially like trailer wise, I think it threw people off from seeing it. But
Mm.
because I purchased it just to buy it, like I didn't go to the theater to see this. Like I was just like, it's Disney, it's Pixar. This is what I do. Like
Right.
I spend money on these
Yeah.
things.
I've totally done that too. Yeah.
Like I spend my money on these things, and like I was like, I'll get it. I'll watch it someday. And like I watched it like years ago, and then like cried like buckets of tears. Like
Yeah.
I lost my dad, and like so that was like, oh, that kind
Mhm.
of like triggered some stuff, and then like
Yeah.
the fact that Arlo was like a little bit more timid, a little bit, and he was smaller than
I
everybody else. And
know.
it was just like, he's the youngest, I'm the youngest, and like, I felt afraid in my life. So, like, I very much like bonded with the Arlo character, and then to be swept away from everything and to have to like rely on the teaching at such a young age,
Yeah.
and then have to trust your own instincts. Like I'm still learning how to trust my own instincts, and I'm 1,000 years old. So it's just like one of those things where it's like I really like related to Arlo as a character. Also, Jeffrey Wright, just the sound of
Yeah.
his voice just does something to me when he speaks. I'm like, ooh, it's gravitas. I don't know what it is.
Oh, he did
Um,
fantastic.
Yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah.
just gravitas. And then it's somebody that too gave me like Lion King feels because like the way he died, like,
Mhm.
he saved his son, and he's just like, oh, he got sucked away. It's just like, oh, what is happening? The only difference is you don't get to see his body, and to me, that's even worse.
Oh yeah. No,
His
totally.
body
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
disappears, and it's just
Yeah.
and then it's like to see
And it's
them
like a natural
bond.
disaster kind of thing
Yes,
too, which is a little different,
yeah,
but still, it's just
which
like,
is a little
oh,
different, which is like, and I don't know, it's just like a really, really good film about like family and owning who you are and like stepping up to the plate and
Mhm.
and it's
Facing
like
your
a
fear.
movie facing your fear. It's about a movie about forgiveness because like they wanted him to kill Spot, even though they gave him the
Yeah.
name Spot, the little boy. That's hilarious, by the way. He's a dog because he kind of was a dog. Like,
Oh yeah, totally.
He
He
was a
was totally
dog.
a dog.
Yeah.
he's a dog. It's like hilarious, but it's like it's like the thing of like forgiveness. Like they wanted him to kill him, but he couldn't. It's very like How to Train Your Dragon. Like I couldn't. Like he
Mm.
looked at him and saw himself. Like he couldn't. Like he was a thing. Like and then it's like they both learned from each other. They both learned. He learned how to be like Arlo learned how to be stronger. Spot learned how to like give in to his feelings a little bit. Like kind of feel that family type of thing. Like it was just I don't know. It was just great. And then for him to come back home different, that's like Moana kind of way. Like
Yeah.
like she's the next to lead, and I think everybody knew that. Like even though Arlo was the youngest, like he was easily the next to lead, but he just had to like
Yeah.
that like find that wherewithal to like lead. And so like it's
Mhm.
very much like Moana went out to sea, he went out, came back a different
Yeah.
person, came back a stronger person, a better leader. So it was just like a beautiful like story. And as somebody that's about to move to like California, I hope that when I come back home, I'm stronger than when I left. I'm
Mhm.
more capable than when I left. So it was like a story that like will hit a little harder now than it had before.
Right. And that's all that stuff's like hero's journey stuff to
Yeah,
me anyway. Like you
yeah,
go out into the world and like you bring back the thing or
hmm
whatever that is, and you become a different person. And
yeah,
Well,
for
he
him,
grew
he
by
brings
letting
back,
Spot go too. Like he had to say,
yeah.
"Hey,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he had to be the one to be like, no, you belong with those other
with
people,
the gray-haired
So
humans." Apparently,
yeah,
I
exactly.
thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So we got to
So
talk about the fact that we got probably one of the greatest things in cinematic history in this film, and that is Sam Elliott playing a T-Rex.
Oh my God, yeah,
Especially playing like a cowboy T-Rex, like just
oh yeah, no,
yeah,
totally the way they
galloping.
ran,
I
the way they
love that.
galloped.
man.
And the
It's something
stories they
about the way
told.
Sam Elliott speaks. It's like
Yeah.
it's like when he speaks, you listen, because it's very like a drawl. And so like when
Mhm.
people have a drawl, sometimes I'm just like leaning
Yeah.
in, like what else is the
Well,
story? And like that's Sam Elliott to me.
to me,
Yeah.
had they gotten Morgan Freeman and Werner Herzog to also play characters in the film, it would have
Jeez.
been the
Funny.
four actors I would have always wanted to hear do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rewatch Mando just to hear Werner Herzog talk, or I watch his
Mhm.
documentary just to hear him because I just
Yeah.
what it
I
is.
want to see the baby.
Mhm.
But it was interesting. Again, we've all night been talking about how tropes are turned on their head, and of course, T-Rexes are vicious monsters that are going to eat you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's not the case.
No.
It's the little scavenger birds that are the scumbags.
Yeah, those
Because
guys. Oh my god.
this is a world. This is like an alternate history. This is a world where those
Exactly.
type of birds didn't die off.
Yep.
They got to like live this life. There's barely any humans. Like, I mean, how long does it
Yeah.
take to get humans? Type of thing. And I actually like that. I like when they take like, because film to me is like where you can explore, you can do things like
Mhm.
everything doesn't have to be comic book accurate or like world history accurate. Like
Wow.
you could literally make a Vikings film
You can totally
full
do
of black
alternate
people.
history. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I
Like,
mean? It could be an
that'd
alternate
be freaking
history, and
awesome,
like
actually. Like,
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. Because I love Vikings. I love like that type
Yeah.
of because Vikings allowed everybody to play. Like it was women,
Oh,
everybody,
yeah.
men. We were
Yeah,
side. I love that. So like I'm working on that.
They're the other
I might
side
need
of the
to-
Spartan coin, right? Like,
No,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so, but yeah, like like I love that it's like an alternate history. It's like, and I love it when the asteroid happens. They're just like,
Yeah.
and then they just
They
go back to
right back to the
they're
grass,
doing,
What was
right?
that?
And I'm just like, I love that, and I love that this film is like, it's no surprise it's Disney Pixar, but like
Right.
this film is beautiful. Like this
Mhm.
film is like gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
when he was in the fields and he went into a circle and like all those fireflies, it was just like it was
Yeah.
like beautiful.
Mhm.
Like everything was just animated so nice, and like it felt like everything around them was real, but the animals, like the animals.
Yeah,
still
no,
looked
totally.
great,
That's
but
exactly
it
what I
felt
felt too.
like
Yeah. The
but
world
it felt
around them
like
was like
the world
so
around them was like
totally.
real. It was
And you
like
put these very cartoonish
these cartoony like
animals
characters
in it.
in it,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's where like people's eye was
I
like,
just felt that.
this is
Yeah.
not. I can't
I
focus
felt the
on
same.
this.
Mhm.
But I still thought it was great. I thought like
Yeah.
the voice
Yeah.
actors all came through, and just like,
Oh, yeah.
but I just for the most part, I just felt like this was like really beautiful. Again, it's a
Mhm.
movie where a young kid finds a pet and becomes a better person, and teaches the pet.
Yeah. Yeah.
teaches the pet how
That's
to be
funny.
So
pretty
this
decent.
movie is a
you know.
blend of the other two, essentially. It's that
Yeah,
Western,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not
It
even
is.
Western. It's more just the late 1800s prospecting, living on your own on the farmland,
Yeah.
having to raise cattle, all of those
just very
themes.
southern. It's
Yeah. I
very
think.
southern. Very.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think there were like elements of Western
Mhm.
things in there, but not
It was like
necessarily full
some
Western. But
western with their modern. It's like they mixed it because
yeah.
like there's modern farmers, there's people that still like got their silos filled with stuff, and there's still people out there like that. So I feel like it was a blend of like
Mhm.
old school type of um I can't remember the word I was saying, but it's like old school and new school, kind of like Western, like old school Western, new
Right.
school, like kind of like put together. So
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
Little House on the
Little House on the
Prairie a
Prairie.
little bit.
Yeah. That's right.
Paul,
Yeah.
it
Big
was.
Western.
There was a couple of Pauls in there, Pawpaws and stuff like that. Mom, Paul.
Mhm.
I loved seeing the reverse shark fin concept. I really loved through the clouds. You get to see pterodactyl
Mhm.
noses as shark
Yeah.
fins.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There were. He fell a lot. Arlo fell down a lot.
He did. Yeah.
He did.
I think I relate to him not because of stature, because I was always the biggest person in my family, whether I was I was just the biggest. And so there was an assumption that because of how big and quote manly I've always been, that I should be
Mhm.
able to do
Sturdy.
things. And
Sturdy, yeah.
it's something that I struggled with my father. I felt a lot like Arlo and come on, I don't want to do this, Pops. And he'd be like, you're doing it.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
always was, you don't really want to know who I am. You just want me to emulate what you want me to do. And Arlo felt that, I think, where he was like, this isn't really who I am. I want to try something else. And in a farming lifestyle, you don't really get that choice anyway. They were kind
Right.
of stuck.
Well, and then on top of that, his brother and sister
Yeah, I was about
were
to say
like
that, yeah.
doing the things, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta make my mark now," because my brother and sister are doing it. It's
But his mark is
yeah,
different though, and I like that. I like when
yeah.
everybody in the family, like it's kind of like I didn't like it before, but now that I think about it, it's kind of like the original Charm show, like when Chef Doherty's character left and Rose McGowan came in.
Oh yeah.
That fourth season, she blended in with them. Like she had like dark hair and like she was the younger sister. But when they came back for the fifth season, she went to the producer. Like she dyed her hair like red, and the producers are like, "What are you? You guys are sisters. What are you doing?" She was like, "I got like a whole bunch of siblings. we all don't have the same color
Yeah,
hair.
you don't have this
All don't have to
hair,
do the
like,
same thing. And like we all don't
yeah.
have to be like these carbon copies of each other. And to me, that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what this film was. It was just like your brother and your sister do this, okay, but I might go about it in a different way, but it still
Right.
gets the same results. Like I don't
It's
have
still
to
leaving a mark.
follow the same thing that you do, and like, and I feel like his father was just trying to teach him basics because he knew that he was different. Like I think parents always know when their kids are different, and so like they try to instill on them, or they're maybe like a little bit harder on the kids that they know is different because they know that like the world is going to see them that way, and they want to protect their kids as much as they can. And I'm speaking from experience. I know my mom knew I was weird. Like I was. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. But I feel like he knew that Arlo was different, but he also saw himself in Arlo. I feel like, and so he was just trying to like help him along the best way he could. But I love that Arlo always fell because it just lended itself to the character because he didn't know how to stand on his own feet. And then by the time he did, you could see that he was a totally different character, and I love like that arc for him, you know.
Yeah.
And it took Spot showing him how to swim, I think, for him to finally find his footing. That was the moment.
Also, but also being in a position where he had to listen, right? Because I don't want to put everything on his father. Like his father forced him to do these things, but I don't. Sometimes I felt like Arlo didn't listen. He didn't like really absorb it. He just saw that like, because we can all do that sometimes. We can see, why does it come easier for that person, but it doesn't come easy for me? It's because you're not listening sometimes to like what a person has to say. And sometimes a person isn't teaching the way you can absorb it, but still, I feel like Arlo wasn't listening, and he got to a position where it's like he had no choice. Either I listen or I die.
Right.
Like I'm in the comfort of my home. If I don't listen, my dad got me. If I don't listen, my brother, my sister, like he's in a position now where it's like if I don't listen, if I don't focus, I die.
So you can take that back to when he names Spot because he's listening to the rhino constantly try to name the human.
Yeah.
And finally he's like, if I don't jump in on this, I'm gonna lose my human. I better what is it? Snuff, Spot, Murderer. I know there's so many names thrown around in there. I'm just like, wow.
And that's a step in the right decision too, because usually he's timid and he's quiet and he's like, I'm not gonna say anything, and this is the first time and he's like, I gotta step up, and if I want it, I gotta go get it. Like that's his first like inkling of like that fire that his father was trying to like light at him, you know.
Yeah. I want to talk about the first time I cried in this.
Oh yes, please.
Was so when they're when Arlo is like showing his like stick family, and then he does the circle, and then Spot does the same thing, and then he knocks over the mom and the dad, and then covers them up with dirt.
Oh, messed you up, didn't it?
Oh my god! And then Arlo does the same. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
No. I like had to pause the damn movie. I was like, oh Jesus. That was. I mean, there's like not even like a word spoken there either. You know, it's just like, whoa.
I love films like that. I love films where the emotion is like in the actions, in the face, in the music. Like WALL-E, to me, I weep during WALL-E.
Oh
and I'm like, is this Johnny Five? Like, why am I crying?
He's just a little trash robot. What's the problem?
I know. Like,
like what are we doing? But yeah, that's heavy, man, because it's like it says so much without like, because I feel like that's how people spoke back then, before they learned how to speak with pictures.
No, totally.
And then for you to just look at that and know exactly what he means. Oh man. Oh man. Messes you up.
So good. Yeah.
We do assume that we assume our words are telling everything in so many ways. And they tell maybe a tenth of the story, honestly.
Man. That's very true. So what was the second time you cried?
Second time was when they had to split. Yeah. I was like, like I know it has to happen, but still it's just like,
because even Spot didn't want to leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like, it was a very like, for me, it was like a very like kind of White Fang moment, you know, where he had like in White Fang, you know, he has to like let White Fang go. He's let, you know,
spoilers.
Because he has to be wild. Yeah, like this classic literary tale. Spoilers.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's funny. So there's actually like a New Girl episode about it where he's trying to break up with Cece and he's trying to White Fang her. He's like yelling at her like, "Go! Get out of here!"
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what you mean.
It's like, are you trying to White Fang me right now? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that scene. Now, that's a good reference. That's how you take me, Brian. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
But
cried
that was
during
the
the two
second time.
circle scenes, is what it boils down to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think those are
Yes,
the two cry
Bill
moments.
Schmidt. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So good.
Honestly, I cried when his daddy died, even though I kind of saw it coming when I first saw it. But I still like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like he wrapped himself in his father, like he was, even when, and it was great because like even when he came back, everybody felt like he looked taller. That's because he wasn't cowering anymore. So he was
Mhm.
actually like his actual like height because he was so minuscule to everybody else. It's like
Yeah.
and then being out and having to fight and survive and take care of spot. It's like he straightened up, and it was
Oh
just
yeah.
like
Totally. Mm-hmm.
they thought it was their father,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
I mean,
her
his like
husband when he
posture
came back,
change
and
and
I was
like,
just like,
yeah,
oh,
I
it's
know.
so good. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so small but so big at the same time.
Let's
Mhm.
let's talk about the technology that these dinosaurs had. I loved how they
Yeah. Like,
figured out
whoa.
how to make it so the dinosaurs could make this technology work. So they thought it through.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, they'd have to like slide under this to like lift it, and definitely still a bit of suspending your disbelief just for the sake of arguing, but they were still trying to be clever with it, and I appreciate it
Mhm.
when they do that in films. Although whenever they were digging trenches with their noses, I kept thinking, aren't there rocks that would constantly hit them
Right.
in the nose?
But, like, yeah, you think they have like be all like kind of scarred up a little bit on their nose and like, yeah.
Mhm.
Especially
Mm-hmm.
since we do get scenes, especially we get to the cowboy dinosaurs that
Yeah.
are messed up. Like he's got
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
crocodile tooth
Exactly.
in his gums, and I
Yeah.
liked that. I liked that he was, told this tough and rough, rough and tumble story. He's a cowboy. He's been
Mm-hmm.
through it, and even his kids are like, "We've been through it," and that dude, like, he's been holy crap.
Yeah.
And then he straight up tells Arlo, "Dude, if you're not afraid, I don't know
Yeah.
what's wrong with you. That's weird that
Exactly.
you're not afraid.
Like
It's how
I'm
you
scared.
deal
Yeah.
with the fear that
Mm-hmm.
makes you
Yeah. And
courageous."
I think that's the misconception of a lot of children when it comes to their parents. Like we think our parents are like these
Got it all
superheroes. They
figured
don't
out.
get they don't
Yeah.
get
Not
scared. They know
afraid.
everything, and then
Mm-hmm.
you finally realize that like, yo, my parents a person, or like my parents a dinosaur,
Yeah.
and like like they get scared too. They just handle it
They just don't
differently
show
than I
me.
handle it. They just don't show me, and so it's like for Arlo to realize like, yo, for him to be like this big old T-Rex to be like, I get scared, but like I can't live in that. I think that informed a lot of like his father for him to be like, oh, so my dad probably was scared a lot. He just protected me from it, like most parents
Mm-hmm.
do,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had that realization last night, actually, before I even watched. I was holding my daughter, and shoulder and neck have
Mm.
been messed up, as you guys know. Been pretty
Mhm.
bad lately, but she won't not
Ugh.
let us pick her up because she's just at that
Of
age,
course.
and she'll cry and be upset if I don't pick her up. So I do it
Oh.
anyway sometimes. But last night she was pretty bad off, and so I picked her up, and my shoulder was screaming. And then I thought, and I was like, this is why I always thought my dad was tough, because he wouldn't scream
Yeah.
and cry in these moments when he was
Yeah.
holding me or having a problem. He would just hold it. Not that he was actually tougher, although I think my dad was tougher than me. That's it could be a conception that I'm having of father, but it dawned on me. I was like, man, they really do just hide it. They fake it. They're courageous by keeping a strong face in those moments
Yeah.
and not crying. I mean, if you're in a very terrible situation and your parents start crying and freaking out, you're gonna lose your shit. You're gonna have
Yeah,
problems
that
too.
messes
So
me up. Yeah.
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 So anyway,
Anytime I saw my mom cry, I would just be like, who do I have to murder? Who made you do this? Like type of thing, like because my mom's very strong. She's very get the work done, get the job done. Like kind of suck it up type of person. So if she
Mm-hmm.
sheds a tear, I know something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's
My
like
mom
one of
was the
those
same. Was very much the same way. She was very quiet.
things.
And very
Within, she was very
introverted. Yeah, she's very
yeah.
introverted. And like
Mhm.
when I left for boot camp, whoa, I'd never seen it. Like, man, it like got me crying because I was like, I'd never seen my mom really cry.
Mhm.
And she's like, her son's going off the boot camp. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
she finally
For
like let
sure.
it's like 18 years of stuff got let out there. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's no totally.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show your kids
Yeah.
that you're human, because that goes like it took me a little bit longer to realize that like, oh, she does have feelings.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you don't, I'm crying all the time. Like I'm
Yeah.
you know I wake up in the morning, I'm like, that was crazy. Like I'm just crying like all the time, and so like, but if I probably would have seen that more from my mom, it, oh,
Mhm.
she has chinks in her armor. Like she's
Yeah,
human. You know what I mean?
it's
Like
okay to.
show your
Yep.
kids that you're in pain. They learn these things over time for sure, but like show your kids that you're human. Like
I
they go
don't
wrong.
know. I
Yeah.
think it might depend on the parent because if you're in the wrong
No, I agree.
situation, you
I
might
agree.
want to never do that to keep them tough and understand that they need to keep that armor.
I don't know because that can mess them
Yeah, I
up
don't
in the
know
Agreed.
long
either.
I'm
run.
saying
Like
the situation. I'm
you
not saying
know,
that's a good rule of
Right.
thumb. I agree with you. You should express because I
yeah.
didn't get to see my father cry but twice in his life, and once was
Mhm.
when or the first time was when I was in my 20s. So the fact that I grew up without a father that would even remotely cry, like wouldn't crack me,
Mhm.
like you couldn't even get him to like mist up during a movie. He would just be like, "What are you guys all crying about?" Like he was that
Right.
guy.
It's just a movie.
So I get what you're
Mhm.
saying. I didn't think it was healthy for me. I've had to unpack that for a long time.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
but I think that there are situations in our world where that defense mechanism will save a kid scenario. But those are the bad scenarios. I digress.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we can have a whole conversation on this. I have a lot to talk about that, but continue. Continue.
real
Look at the better stuff.
psychology today is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, like we can have a therapy session on here. We all just
I
get
mean, you can almost
ourselves.
do
Like,
that with
it's
any
fine.
movie, and you
Honestly,
can
yeah.
dive right
And
in.
if we
Like,
wanted to, let's pick a movie that'll like psychoanalyze ourselves and
I
like
mean,
go
like
from
I have books. Like, there's one book that I would recommend called The Lucifer Effect, and I got that book because it's all about like why good people do bad things, and like basically I got it because it was going to help me inform like how to create better antagonists and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, but it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's one of those books out there that like you need to read as far as like psychology goes and everything. But
What's the
um
name of it again?
the Lucifer Effect.
I'm gonna have to look that. I love
Yeah,
psychology, so
yeah,
I don't know
it's
if
really
I don't know if
good.
you guys know that about me. I love
I
I
think
psychology.
think
I think
I think you mentioned
maybe
that. Mhm.
I think maybe the fact that you like acting and character study and
Right.
humans
Mm,
and all those things
yeah.
led us to think maybe.
I almost went and got my degree in psychology actually. So
Oh
Nice.
man.
This is why we get along. Do you know that my degree is sociology? I don't know if you guys knew that, but
Oh. Mm.
kismet, and that's just
yeah. So like
kismet,
you
man.
like looking at one person while I look at all of them. That's really the big difference between the two in a lot of ways. At least that's what sociologists say. Psychologists would be
Right.
like, that's not the difference. But
That's not the difference. I like to look at everybody
as individuals,
as
yeah,
individuals.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it were up to me and we all had the time, I would love to do this 3 times a week and talk about
Mhm.
one movie at a time and really get into the
I was just
themes.
saying, hey, maybe that can be a thing that we add to the channel where like maybe a Sunday we just go deep into like one film.
Well, that's so. As I was mentioning to all the movie things, that we are kind of wrapping up here, so this is a perfect time to mention it. We're going to be
Yeah.
doing an episode in 2 weeks. I want to double check this. I don't want to see, but we should be doing an episode in a couple of weeks. That's the Multiverse of Madness episode because it'll finally be plus. I'll finally be able to see it. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once was also just released, so it'll be a perfect time to do a multiverse episode. And we'll
Yeah.
just do the 2 films, 1 hour per film. So that'll be. Although we did Chip and Dale for 2 hours, which was
Because it's solid flick,
an
man. Solid
interesting
flick.
evening.
Mm.
Solid flick, man. That's
It
the,
is.
that's the
It
stuff.
is. You're not wrong. It was fun. Although I don't think I'm running back out to see it. I haven't like had the desire to watch it again.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
be watching Iron
I
Giant
have.
again though.
I have. I love it. I'm gonna watch it again.
Hmm. Biggie, you're out there. Are we having any video technical difficulties? I was just told that somebody was having a viewing experience that was not ideal.
Oh.
And I'm
Mhm.
big on getting that corrected these days because, well, we're seasoned.
You know,
We should be better than that.
it's ironic. I don't know if this is actually thought of or why we decided to do animation this week, but Lightyear comes out
Hmm.
That's because of me.
this week. Yeah.
I was
Got it.
like, can we? I love animation.
Yeah.
I want to do more animation. Like I love animation. So
Yeah. Well,
my bread and
gonna
butter.
check out Lightyear this week.
June 17th. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. It looks great. There's actually a Lightyear a little 30-minute thing on Disney Plus right now. It's all about Buzz Lightyear,
Buzz Lightyear.
and so it
Yeah.
goes from like, early Buzz, Toy Story, first Toy Story, up to like,
Mhm.
this
If I'm
one.
being honest,
explaining
I
it.
really wouldn't mind. I know we're wrapping up, but I'm just saying, like, I really wouldn't mind a Woody film. Like, I really, because of his
Like a
background, like
prequel.
he was like a prequel. Like, I really wouldn't
Yeah,
mind, like, even if they put it in the same animation style as Lightyear, but just
oh yeah.
like I would love
Like
to
where Woody
like
came from, like
his
yeah,
time on the
yeah.
TV
Shouldn't we get
show,
a
like
black
where
and white
Oh,
TV show
dude.
though for Woody?
like no, like I'm just saying, like where he came
Yeah,
from,
you can do a black and white.
how he
Like
got picked to be an actor on
that'd
this
be
TV
cool.
show, like his
Yeah,
behind the scenes, and then how, like, I would love to see something like
that's
that.
a good
That'd be
idea.
cool.
I don't see why they wouldn't, like, especially if they're gonna do this Buzz Lightyear route,
Mhm.
because
I
essentially
was
this
just
is
thinking
like
about that though.
this is the movie
The
that
movie this is the one that
Andy
Andy
In
saw,
the
saw,
right?
universe,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
when we saw this
yeah,
on this
yeah.
fucking character.
So
So
yeah,
I would
definitely
love,
do the
they
same
could
thing with
easily
Woody.
do
Yeah,
that with Woody, but just make it like a 50s, 40s, or 50s type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I would love to see that.
That'd be fun.
That would be so great. Yeah.
I can see that.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
my wife is having bad internet issues because I've got 3 devices running and we're doing a show. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, I'm excited for
Alright.
Lightyear just for this. I love that meta kind of concept.
Also, it's a time travel film, so
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They
I've
talk
I've
about
avoided
that
most
in,
trailers
like,
just because I'm gonna watch it. I don't need to.
oh,
well, they
spoiler
talk a little bit
alert.
about it in the Buzz Lightyear
No,
show.
yeah, I'm not worried.
thing,
You
so.
guys got me kind of going. Wait, oh, this is even different than I thought.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
Yeah,
space
yeah,
and time travel, man.
yeah.
It's like it's right up your alley.
Mhm.
So if somebody had done that with Iron Giant, I would have watched it 20 years ago.
That's why I did it, because I was like, let's make sure he goes.
Yeah,
he
don't skip
like
Lightyear. It's got some time travel
Yeah.
in
Let's
it.
do
Let's
Lightyear.
do-
It got
yeah,
some
yeah.
time travel, man. Some space.
I
Come on,
like
man.
it. So you guys, we should rate The Good Dinosaur, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna get out of here for the evening. Wow, this
Mhm.
show kind of went faster than I expected. Weird how 2 hours can.
Mhm.
Here. Why don't we start with Lala, since it was your pick?
I love The Good Dinosaur. I cry all the time. I give this a solid 9.5.
Solid 9.5.
Nice.
Yeah, I watch this on occasion. Is when I watch
Mm.
it. It's not a thing that I'm like, it's been a year. I watch this on occasion. So
All right.
Solid.
How about you, Mr. All the Movie Thing?
I'm gonna give
Mr.
this
All the Movie
one a 9 for sure. There's no Deacons effect, but
All
there's
right,
definitely
no
like
Deacon's drip, huh?
right, no Deacons trip. I don't know if I want to use that term, but
It's better than D Train.
I guess
Love
either
you,
one's
Train.
not really good. Yeah, but it is like the crying thing for me really like
Yeah.
will make it lean
Yeah.
more towards that. So yeah, definitely 9. Like, but definitely better than I thought it was gonna be too, because like
Mhm.
initially, because it didn't do as well and it had
Yeah.
like not really talked about a lot. So
It gets a low
yeah,
rating
great.
too on
Yeah,
IMDb.
It
It gets a
does.
6.7, which I
It
thought was
does.
kind of
Which is
low.
crazy.
no.
Which is crazy. I really feel like this is going to be one of those films that come back around somewhere, like down the line. Like it's going to come back around. So.
Well, and I think people walked into it expecting Ratatouille or something to that effect, and less.
Yeah, same.
I don't know. Or maybe people don't like seeing their humans and the dinosaurs mixed. I don't know. Maybe that's just possible.
I don't know. They watched Ice Age and they love that.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't.
I like the crudes and like
So
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
talk a million years about how I don't like that series of films, but that's,
I thought the first one
Ice
was
Age,
okay.
yeah.
but
First
I
one's
don't-
okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep making them, but
and look, I know that the like concept of an animated movie being real, I know I shouldn't care, but
No,
when
you
you
shouldn't.
start like
Does it?
Land of the Losting, what should have been like kind of sort of
Mhm.
human history or
Right.
Earth history, I start to go, wait a minute, that's a totally you changed gears on me, because they set up parameters in the first film, and then the third film they're like,
Yeah, they did.
underground.
Honestly-
I'm just like, oh, this is terrible.
Honestly, Ice Age is the animated Fast and the Furious. Like it just.
That's a really good point. That's a
Think about it. They even
Uh,
had
like, it doesn't
Scrat,
matter,
the
like-
squirrel. They even had him in space. Like I'm just saying, like it's
Oh, you are
amazing.
totally right, and he's the best part
Yeah.
of the films. Like,
Yeah, no,
honestly.
totally. Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. So yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks those are.
No, I love those
Yeah.
films though. I love them because of what they are. I don't look at them I look at them with the same type of animation.
look at it
thought
very
they gave
surface
it.
level,
I look at it
like-
very surface
yeah,
level. I don't go
yeah.
too deep. Don't go
That's
too
fair.
deep.
Gotcha.
And I try
That's
not
how I
to,
am with
but
Fast and Furious. Yeah.
No. But you're
So
you. But you're you. But
But
they're
they're
the
good,
Fast
yeah.
and Furious of this
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
No. Yeah. For sure.
I'm gonna give this movie an 8. I think it's a solid 8. Definitely
that.
worth
love that.
rewatching. I think the reason it's not higher is just I try to avoid the dad tropes these days. So
Respect.
my own reasons to give it an 8, I guess.
No respect.
That said, I want to mention that if we do more animated shows, which I'm totally down, I think we should stick to putting them together because I think that it works really well when we all animate versus trying to maybe
Right.
like when
No,
we did whenever we
prefer,
watch like
I
live
prefer
action and we
that.
throw like a Batman in there, it felt and I was like, okay, this just the tones don't
Mm.
fit the same, the way they pace isn't the same.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. Watching these three together worked because they're all the
Honestly,
same length and pace, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah, they
honestly,
were pretty close
I
to
mean, me
length.
personally, I would want because a lot of animations come in threes nowadays. We can do
Mhm.
trilogies when it comes to animation. Like, there's so many trilogy animations out there that we can do as well. I mean, we can still like pick our own like themes or whatever, vote or get the real studio.
Right.
But like Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, The Cruise has
Mm.
like 2 movies. Like, it's a lot of like
I've never
choices.
seen the Kung Fu Panda movie.
Ooh!
I've seen the 1 and 2. Kung Fu Panda is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
I had
The
a
first one's
feeling
pretty
Law would
good.
react like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
I
other
haven't
one I
seen
wanted
any
to
of the
bring up,
Crudes, but
the Cruise is good. I
yeah.
actually
Okay.
released the baby. I like the Cruise.
Yeah.
So I did want to mention this since you said you've never seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think that means absolutely unequivocally we need to have a
A Johnny Depp thing?
psychedelic, not a Johnny Depp, but a psychedelic movie night. So that would include Fear and Loathing, and I will easily select 2 others. I would think A Scanner Darkly needs to be another one on that list.
Oh.
And then
Dazed and Confused wouldn't count, would
I
it?
feel like I've seen The Scanner Darkly, but I
Dazed
haven't
and
seen it in a
Confused
long
is
They don't
time.
really.
you
They're
know,
not really. Yeah, it's not really like trippy, but
right.
they just talk. There's a lot of stoners in there. I just
Agreed.
love that. I just love that movie.
Because
Oh no,
Scanner
it's great.
Darkly has
It's so good.
A Scanner Darkly has Keanu, right?
Yeah, it's Keanu as the main,
Yeah.
and then
I
it also
thought
has
so.
Woody
I thought so.
Harrelson,
RDJ. is in there.
RDJ, and Winona Ryder, and they were kind of all the
Yeah.
bad kids of the time when they put them all in
Yeah.
that movie. They had all kind
Yeah.
of broken some laws. I was like, "Where's Matthew McConaughey? Get him in there." But they didn't. Although
Yeah, I thought
that's actually not true. Rory Cochrane is actually in well, and he's from Dazed and Confused as well as Empire Records.
That's right.
I like him
Yeah.
a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So I'll come up with a third one, but I think we should do an all psychedelic night just because you've never seen Fear and Loathing and you need to watch.
Well,
Fear
I
and
wonder
Loathing.
if like the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus would be up there.
There we go.
It's like it's out
I've
there.
always
man.
wanted.
Like,
I've always wanted to see that because it was Heath
Yeah.
Ledger's like
Yep.
last film, and
yeah.
that makes me sad. I think that's why I've always avoided it. And I love that they
Yeah.
brought in some great actors to like fill in for him because it was like a
Yeah.
weird film that they could do that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But-
It fit because they play like 3 different versions of that character.
Yeah.
You know, and it
Yeah.
totally, just
It was
worked.
like a multiverse before multiverse even mattered.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Okay, so we have our trifecta then. I guess we can
Yeah.
even just do that one for next week because we don't have a plan for next week. Hey, look at that. That just kind of organically fell.
Look at that.
Is
So-
it written down anywhere? Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing, Scanner Darkly, and the Imaginarium of Dr. Get your brains ready, y'all. Get your brains ready. You will wonder, what am I watching at some point?
Yeah.
That said, this has been episode 32 of The Real Study. We are getting close to season 2, and when we do, we are going to probably take a short break before season 2 starts so that we can actually revamp some things, new intros, various things. Hannah and I have been working on some stuff, and we'll
Cool.
see. And hopefully we'll be implementing some more like stuff for you guys to watch during the week instead of go.
Yeah. And just to throw out, I am restarting my own like solo podcast that you can listen to on Apple, all that type of stuff.
Go
Yeah.
follow La.
Yeah, because I'm about to. I love you guys. I love this, and I love doing this show and everything. But I want to start doing my podcast again and talking about stuff.
Of course.
You know.
There's room for more podcasts in the world. I think that there's.
Oh, for sure. Mine's been idle for a while. I've been on other podcasts and just kind of like I've been pushing myself to the side, and I think I should stop doing that. So.
Yeah.
I agree.
Justine invited me to their podcast. So
Very
We'll
cool.
see on that
Very
one.
cool.
Let us know
I'm
when that
scared.
happens, and we will be there to listen.
Blink
Now
two
that
times.
their podcast is pre-recorded, right? Is that how their podcast works? It's pre-recorded.
I believe so. I know Justine's on right now. I
Yep.
think she's still on. So,
I just know that I think it would be fun to be listening to their podcast live so that I could talk to them
oh
because
yeah.
I really do
Mm.
enjoy that aspect.
Mhm.
Oh, you can't raid Bob Ross. What kind of world am I living in?
What?
The worst.
They
in
watch
the
a lot
darkest-
of movies.
We're in the darkest timeline, so it's fine.
We are in the darkest timeline. We can't raid Bob Ross. Anyway,
Yeah.
I guess we're back to the Raven Arm. No offense, Raven. We, of course, want to raid you too, but I really thought it'd be fun after talking about Bob Ross tonight to actually raid
Right.
that channel. But
Yeah, that'd have been cool.
But yeah, apparently, if you're too big on Twitch, they don't want you raiding. Okay, fine then.
Oh,
Fine.
that's weird.
That said, we're going to raid Raven Armed as we usually do. Stick around so you can say hello to Raven Armed. Otherwise, hope you guys all have a great night. And we ran 5 minutes long.
Join us,
All
guys.
right. Good to see y'all. Thanks for stopping in.
Yay. See you next
What?
time. Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
It didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
What the crap?
Oh,
What
it
I'm
truly
no
is the
good at
best
this.
line.
I'm no good
What
at
in
this.
the HE double hockey stick? That was me every time I was streaming, and I'm like, we're gonna raid somebody, and I'm always having somebody in my chat like, I'm like, did it work? Did it work, you guys? Did it work? Because I couldn't figure it out. It
Well,
takes so long to like connect and do the thing.
And if you do it wrong, you can raid somebody as they're leaving and it won't work.
Yeah, as they're leaving, it
Oh,
won't work.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that said,
I felt-
night.
Night. I
Night.
felt like Varric from Legend of Korra. I'm like, do the thing, Julie. Do the thing.